Do you want me to use the bottle, the glass bottle first?
Yeah, that one's about empty. Okay, so that didn't complain. Now we pull up the everything streams.
Yay for not complaining.
And then I update everything else because we haven't done that yet. Ginny, I'm gonna put you in your kennel if you keep fucking making coughing sounds.
All that butthole pooping sound.
Ah! What the fuck? Apparently, don't click one of the macro keys because it's not actually a macro.
Ruh-roh.
It's just full of random string characters. I think you got a message.
I did.
Okay.
You just want me to stir this? You don't have a shaker?
No, just grab a. There should be a straw, I think, up in that cabinet right there next to you.
Straw.
Yeah, just grab a straw and shake it with a straw. That's
Alright,
fine.
yeah. That works.
Talk shows, podcasts. Turn
That might be
caps
really
low.
strong. I haven't made a whiskey sour in a long time.
That's fine. I'm gonna use the straw. Never mind.
Oh, you're gonna use a straw?
Yeah, for some reason I drink whiskey sours out of a straw.
That's fair. Nothing wrong with
This is
that.
how I do.
Nothing wrong with that. Get in there.
Alright, so Twitch we are live on.
Yay!
Because I can see my head moving. Now let's check the other ones, Mixer and YouTube and all that shit.
There you go. Wrap your lips around that.
Oh, I get a long straw.
Yep, that's what I saw in there. I saw long straw.
It's really not that strong.
Oh, good. I mean, maybe good.
Cool, Mixer, you have a search function. We're definitely not being top streams because we're not those people.
Right.
Let me just sign in. I'll fucking... Okay, so yeah, it says that we're live on Mixer, but it hasn't shown up yet. I also need to edit all that stuff in the titles. I updated it in
No, it's working.
Is it? Are we on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, what does it say? Because I need
It
to
says,
update
the
it.
Surly Nerd is live now. This week on the show we cover geek news and spoiler for thoughts about Avengers Endgame.
Sweet.
Okay, cool.
Oh God, my mom's gonna see this shit now.
Did she follow this early nerd?
No, she doesn't. Just don't tag me personally in it. I'm not prepared for her to see any of this.
Edit. We're not playing the game Testament. We're playing fucking. Oh, it's got to click test on the other thing.
Oh yeah.
I clicked test and just added a thing to see what it would.
Yeah.
What it would be. Yeah, it doesn't have the talk show and podcast listings just yet. So yeah, social alerts. Yeah, no, we're on Mixer. That was definitely your
Yay.
head that I just saw.
Yay, my hat.
And it updated to the what we're talking about. Okay, so this is working.
Yay! Sweet.
This is a thing. This is a thing that we're doing.
It's working. I'm scooting a little bit.
Yeah, no, I moved the camera a little bit, but
Bring the mic
yeah.
forward. Hang out.
See, the thing
with
is, like, it looks like you're so far away, but then you realize, like, no, I'm just fat and don't want to get close.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to. I want my shirt to have less definition this close to the camera,
Yeah.
so that people can't see the slight curve outward.
This is why people that do news shows and things like that suit.
Oh yeah,
The
suit
layers
and
cover-
tit high table.
Yeah, tits side table. That's the name of our next podcast.
Yeah, tits high table.
Yeah,
Oh, or Jimmy Kimmel's favorite, Spanx.
I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. He's more tolerable than the Jimmy Fallon.
Well, yeah.
Basically, I don't
is,
fucking like anybody named Jimmy.
Jimmy Kimmel is a little too smart for his own good sometimes, but that's honestly kind of endearing.
Okay, so test.
Tests seem to work. No, and I updated all the names with the correct name now, I think.
Yay, correct names.
What? Cool.
So I told James that we need a little Cousin It doll so
Yeah.
that we can go like, well, so this is it. Or, well, that's it right there.
Well, yeah, we do need that.
Yeah. And we also...
And a little it, like a little
Yes.
little clown.
And we still need a copy of The Thing on DVD.
We are just making this very small desk very cluttered.
Yeah. Maybe we like...
For the two of us, we're the only two that play with them. It's just you and I.
Well, then
and
that's
just,
fine.
Like,
We can
randomly
have, like-
caressing you with the hand.
We're gonna need like a little pouch like under the desk where we can just grab our things. And
For things and it's.
I
yeah.
forgot that I was going to put him on the desk for today.
There you go. Oh yeah, there you
I mean,
go.
my arm's mostly going to be covering him up. You might want to... That's one?
That's why what?
Oh,
Actually, no,
that's
you
right.
can go afterwards.
Wait, did I talk about Lego Movie 2
Brooklyn?
last
Yes, you did.
week? Okay, good.
You did. Brooklyn, can you hear us? Are we working? It's not really hot as balls down here just yet. It's kind of fine.
No, it was pretty
It's
warm outside.
It's warm.
I was outside most of the day. I sweat. I was sweating. It was
But I'm
not fun.
fat, so I think I sweat all the time.
That's
so.
fair. But there's like a difference between just like normal fat sweating and like outside and it's hot sweating.
Well, see, I specifically it works as I walk around, but I always make sure I have my hoodie on. So
Oh, yeah, that's
I
just hot
Yeah, no,
normally.
I'm sweating all the fucking time, and
Gross.
I need to do that because I'm a fat fucking piece of shit that needs to lose some weight. That's exactly what my thought process is.
Just eat less.
We're just sweat.
Less
So
often.
much sweat.
He already doesn't eat.
Huh?
He already doesn't.
Well, that's not working for you.
You could drink less beer.
Oh yeah, that'll.
See, that's what I was thinking, and
You're
I
like,
just,
that's the deal breaker.
that. No, I just think maybe I need to switch to my weird vodka thing that I like.
How's that?
Smells good. I haven't been able to drink for a week, so.
I was gonna say, yeah, you were.
See, yeah, no, like
you were in
wearing.
and out.
Okay, 75 degrees for a hoodie is definitely hoodie weather. Like I'm still wearing them at like 110.
Hard no. I wear shorts and a t-shirt and 75
I will
degrees.
also wear shorts and t-shirt with a hoodie over it.
Would you like to try a sip of this?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of my. Anywhere I go, I carry a hoodie because that's the thing is like when it gets hot as fuck down here, it gets hotter than it does other places.
Yeah.
But that means our AC is blasting, so it's like 70 inside and
then you need a
110
hoodie.
outside. So you need the hoodie to deal with the fact your body's going through fucking shock right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to put her up. She's just coughing too much.
Cough, 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 cough.
Are we live?
Yeah, she's gonna. Yeah, we're
We are live.
Wow.
I didn't have to stop. I didn't update at all.
Oh, I need to silence my phone.
Hi everyone. We are testing new software today, so sorry if it's a little bit funky. We're adjusting to the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
But now we can go live on Facebook, which is cool.
We are live on Facebook
Yeah.
right now.
The only thing we don't have is the chat so that we can read it as it comes
Okay.
out.
Is there
So-
Facebook chat integration?
Yeah, there's all that's in there.
Neat.
That is all in here, from my understanding.
Right.
I sent you guys a bunch of things and nobody responded.
On Facebook?
I sent you little hearts.
Yeah, the
Okay, I don't have those, so I gotta figure out where I can see those at. Since we're still testing.
Yes,
we're still
ready
testing,
yet.
we're
This
not-
is- This is things to test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I want to see the hearts.
when I went to the App Store thingy, and I clicked on that, and I clicked open again. It says display unified chat. It pops out this,
Okay.
which just says initializing unified chat done, ready to receive chat message for the server.
Okay.
I don't know what that does past that.
So
Okay.
send us, have someone talk to us now.
I mean, if I just press a button.
Hey,
Okay,
there it
so
is.
this website is now our chat.
Yeah,
Not
Maybe put
conducive
it
to
on-
us reading, but
yeah.
Yeah, like so. Pull up
Oh,
Facebook again.
There's
Oh,
a thing.
there's
Oh, yeah,
Aaron.
you gave me a weird selection of letters and stuff.
Oh,
Kinda
there's
cool.
Brooklyn. All right.
Yeah,
Yep.
you got an HD.
We can see their
JK.
Facebook icons too. That's,
Yeah.
that's cute.
I know what you people, and it tells you where they're coming in from.
Nice.
Nice. I can dig it.
So what I can do is to make this easier for all of us's is apparently make it disappear.
That's not hard.
Close a bunch of other shit that we don't need open right now.
Yep.
But Tony and also Victor and Will James knows, but you guys are on like a probably 60-second delay.
Yes.
I figured
Yeah,
as
that
much.
sounds about right.
So just be aware that when we're getting questions and stuff, we shouldn't feel bad that somebody's like intruding into the conversation.
Right.
We should be able to dial it back and realize we've got that 60-second delay.
Yeah, no worries
All
there.
right, so We got this chat, which we don't fucking need anymore because apparently it doesn't fucking work. Let me see if I can.
We're at episode 311.
Yeah, no, this is the old information.
Oh,
For some reason
okay.
It's still in there.
Got it.
I was clicking that button to see if. See, that's what happened. You need a macro button. That's
Yeah.
what it displays.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nothing. It's a fucking nothing.
It's a something. Something came out.
Yeah, no, it's a macro of something. Yeah, clicking update on the last thing.
Alright.
See, rooms isn't it. That's not it. See, I just don't think that maybe.
This specific site has
Or,
the
yeah,
integration.
They haven't integrated this into the main chat yet.
Right.
Gotcha.
So can we still use the restream chat while we're in the process? The
So
bigger
the
one?
old one,
Yeah.
this one that's over here.
Yeah.
Currently no, because I turned them all off. 'Cause
Got
it's
it.
part of
Okay.
restream.
Now it makes sense. All right. So then.
So that's not gonna work.
Right. So we'll just have to
So we're
look.
gonna have to use. Let me go back to.
The little sideways website.
Let me go back to live so I can see where we're at.
Yeah.
Because that gives us all of the. I just wish there was a way I could close this. I guess I can't. No.
Sure.
You did the opposite one. What did you do? Just go away.
The joy of software testing.
Yeah, no, I can shrink that as much as I can.
Yeah, it works.
Unfortunately, I can't make these smaller.
That's fine.
It's like-
Nah, it's fine.
But
We can.
Yeah.
I can read that from here. So
I can
should
read
be
it
good.
okay.
I can zoom in on this. What is that? Shift
Control
plus?
plus.
Control plus.
Oh, perfect. Look at that. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
As long as it keeps scrolling down for us, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I can also just do that, but I can't. I have to turn this to a transparency. I don't know if you can do.
That's fine.
Transparency.
Honestly, this
it's-
is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
You can't see us. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay with
hopefully we're
that.
in frame. I don't like looking at me. I like hearing me because I've got a beautiful fucking voice, but I fucking hate seeing you. All right, so
So we're ready to go. Can you
I think
double
we're
check
good.
us our Facebook real quick and make sure that it looks like it's still saying we're live?
Facebook.
I'm sure that it does, but I just want to double check.
I pulled up Twitter or Twitch and didn't even check it. I pulled it up and then started working on something else.
It's fine.
By doing what I just did, though, it's gonna totally fuck up Chrome. We have to do like Control minus to get
Right,
back to the regular
right,
size.
Right. It's fine. If that's what we have to do for right now, it's fine.
Cool, we're on
Cool,
there.
we're up.
Seems like it's
Excellent.
working.
Yep.
Yeah, we're having the discussion about the discussion that we're having the discussion about.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
How meta of us.
Alrighty. I mean, I don't like that. I don't know how many people are there, but it tells me
It's
this
fine.
minus Facebook.
Yeah.
That's
And
fine.
again, it's fine. Nobody watches the show anyway.
Yeah.
It's just
Or watches things on Facebook. Well, I guess some people
That
do.
is beautiful.
Isn't that nice?
That is good.
That's a good. It's a good.
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
alcohol
man.
there.
It's the first drink I've had in a week. It's gonna be a fun day for me, let me tell you.
Remember, you have work in the morning, so
We all do. Shut up. No one wants to hear that.
Stop fucking
Yeah.
ruining our buzz, man.
It's okay. It's
I
only
don't work on Tuesdays because Tuesdays is the day when at least an hour of my time gets shut down. I make no money, so like I just don't work on Tuesdays because why
Yeah.
the fuck would I put myself through that every?
Why
week?
would I work for an hour for no reason?
Yeah. So it's
Do not get
7:32.
paid.
I guess
I guess we're technically
Yeah,
live around
let's-
we are live.
around 7:30.
Do the thing.
we're on time. So I guess Brooklyn, thanks for coming in and hanging out with
Thank
us.
you for
good.
checking and making sure that all of our shit's working.
We-
too.
we
That's-
appreciate
was
that.
wonderful. And thank
We-
you,
we
Aaron. Even though you
appreciate
can't hear
it.
us because your headphones are on.
Yes, thank you, Aaron, for all the hearts.
See, the thing is,
Thing
just got a
is-
bunch of shit done. So
Brooklyn, I hope you've seen Endgame because that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, it's Endgame
Yeah.
spoiler day.
Yeah.
super spoilery in game day.
Mhm.
It's been about a month.
Yeah.
And this is
I watched
something
it
that,
again on Friday.
Like, see, that's the problem. Too much happened. I don't remember it.
That's why I watched it again on Friday.
I'm sure it'll jog your memory.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for
you
sure.
asked if I wanted to go, and I'm like, I will work till 5, and you're like, too late.
Yeah, no, I literally went at 11.
You saw Aladdin. Stop giving them money for things like that. Just-
All right,
Stop.
it's 7:30. We're actually on time for once.
Yeah.
Let's do the show.
Let's go
You
ahead
ready?
and roll.
Okay.
Aladdin.
Oh, hi everybody. Welcome to the chat. We're gonna get rolling here in just a second.
I heard the first Prince of Bel Air attacks Westeros.
I did hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like a fantastic movie.
No.
Invades King's Landing.
No.
There's a camel involved.
Now I've got Prince Ali stuck in my head.
No, that's your
that song
fault.
was like incredibly racist in the 90s, and I don't think it holds up.
It's pretty fucking catchy.
It is. You're singing it in your head right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. All right, let's do this. This week on the show, it's time to talk Avengers, Ant-Man, and America's ass. Adventurers, gear up for an all-new episode.
You're very exuberant.
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't hear it, though, because I forgot to move the headphones
Yeah,
over.
hopefully I didn't just drown everybody
No,
out with
it
my
looks
intro.
fine.
You're fine.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it looks fine.
The wave
I also
looks
didn't.
good.
We didn't test the audio. This is the week we just didn't test the audio.
We were
We're doing it live, kids!
other
a lot of
shit.
other things.
Yeah.
We tested everything
Look,
this
like
week.
you said, the wave looks good.
Yeah, the wave looks good. That's literally how I've been doing this for a long time now. Is go, that looks fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Alrighty.
Really.
And that's where we do the theme music.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hi.
And you sound so exuberant today. I
Okay.
appreciate it. And with us, as always, our third chair host, Hector.
Howdy.
You stole my word. Like I called you
Word
exuberant before
stolen.
we were doing like in between the show
That's the
part.
point of a
And,
host, is to
and
steal
then
it.
Stole
he
my
called
word.
you it sarcastically.
Yeah, I know.
Get your shit together, sir.
I'm gonna put it in my backpack. I'm gonna take it down to the shit store.
All right, if you're
Why
new to
would you
our
take
show,
it to the shit store?
welcome. This week's Boss Room is our hotly anticipated spoiler-filled talk about the Avengers Endgame. But before that, we have the weekly raid, which is a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com. We can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
Prelude.
All right, this is The Prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what's been occupying our free time. All right, there was I hear that you guys did a lot this week, so
I did a lot.
let's start with Hector.
All right.
Try and pare it down a little bit. Don't get crazy on
Well,
me.
shit, okay,
Hit the fine points. For
So
me.
I'll say very quickly that I replayed Infamous. I finally did an Evil playthrough. I hadn't done that in a while. It was great.
the
Great game.
PS4 version.
Yes, the PlayStation 4 version.
Yeah.
I mean, the exclusives library for PlayStation has been strong since day one, and this game is a perfect example because it was the day one.
Great
and
timing because it's 10 years of Infamous now.
Exactly, and I'm going back and I'm playing it like 6 years after the console came out, and I'm loving every minute of it. So that was great. So here's the high points.
I mean, that's just shows you how great that game holds up.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It's been more than 6 years, and,
And
you're
it
like, it's still good.
looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It still
It-
looks
it's-
good enough that if my mom walks behind me, she asks me if I'm watching a movie.
Wasn't Infamous
Nice.
Second Son like almost a launch game?
Yes, it was a launch game.
Yeah.
Let's see. So here are the big ones. I watched 3 shows that are definitely worth your attention this week. I watched Barry, the second season, which is
I'm in the middle of the first one.
an incredible
show.
fucking show. It is dark humor. It stars Bill Hader, and it's also written and sometimes directed by Bill Hader. This is his passion project. It's a dark comedy about a hitman who, in order to get a target, joins an acting class and decides he wants to be an actor instead of a hitman.
This sounds fascinating.
It's-
I love
This is a
this.
guy whose
So
entire life has been
fun.
a hitman.
Okay, what does this air on, by the way?
HBO.
It's an HBO show. They do this thing where they really, really respect the violence. So anytime there's going to be some hitman stuff going down or something, it's always the way that you feel like a Tarantino movie or a Scorsese movie action going down. It's not stylized. It's not big. There's not a ton of bravado.
There's a lot
It's
of brutality to it.
It's incredibly brutal and incredibly fast.
Right.
And there was an episode this last season that's basically, and this is completely out of character for the show. The entire episode is one long fight scene. It's like about 30 minutes long.
wow.
And it's one of the most fun
Yeah,
things
no,
I've
the
ever
show
seen. 'cause
like
it's
barely
hyper
ever
ridiculous.
has the violence in it. It's normally
Yeah.
and it's over. Like it just shows
Yeah.
up and it's done and that's it.
You get maybe like 15 seconds of violence an episode.
So it's called Barry, and this is high
The
recommend.
show is called Barry.
so
Very
good.
high
So
recommendation.
good.
Here's my second very high recommendation. It's also an HBO show. Had a good HBO weekend. It's Chernobyl.
Yeah. I mean, it's been on my back burner. Like I'm just kind of like, wait, is it all done now? Or
No, we're on episode 4, I think, of 6.
Okay, yeah, I'm waiting for it all done because I know it's gonna be like a weekend of just me watching.
Oh,
Chernobyl.
and here's the problem: is I watched the first episode, and a friend of mine, Joss, told me this is a very hard show to binge, and I was like, whatever, lightweight. Watch the first episode, and I needed to go like do something fun for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was it is the
It's
fucking
a very heavy subject.
heavy and dark, and the magnitude of the disaster and how bad it almost was if the people around Chernobyl hadn't acted as fast as they could. We could have had very easily, within like a 24-hour time span of them acting and a disaster happening, we could have lost the entire USSR and like areas from there all the way up to and inside of Germany.
Wow.
That's how bad that almost got. So it's the scariest part of the show is that it's all completely real. And when you realize that some of the show is written like a horror movie, but just the monster is invisible. It's all real life.
Yeah.
When you get that feeling, that is what it was like for the people living in that situation.
Right.
It's terrifying. It's incredibly accurate, and I can't recommend it enough.
Okay.
The last one I have is Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
I've been talking about Doom Patrol. I've been
so-
hearing about Doom Patrol for a little while.
Yeah, so Doom Patrol is part of the DC Unlimited package.
That's right.
Right. It is one of their original shows.
Yeah,
their original,
flagship show right after Titans.
Right. And Titans, you said, was very kind of hit or miss. Now we have Doom Patrol, which came out around the same time in comic book lore as the X-Men.
Yes.
Very similar premise, kind of ragtag people trying to get together, possibly save the world, maybe not. We'll see how it goes.
Exactly.
Really great actors in this, apparently.
Yes, we have, people who run the gamut. We have Brendan Fraser, holy fuck, where's he been?
Right.
Just being great, because most of his acting is voice acting, and he does such a good job. You have Alan Tudyk, who...
I mean, it's Alan Tudyk.
Even when he's not on screen, and his character is not often on screen, but he does do the voiceover for the show, and... Even when he's just talking, he owns everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And
He went to Juilliard. That's his fucking job.
in the best way possible. And then motherfucking Timothy Dalton as a main character in the show, just being James Bond all over the place. Being
Timothy Dalton just being Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, I use like the F word in people's names only with the utmost respect.
Right.
So Alan motherfucking Rickman and Timothy fucking Dalton is one of them,
Right.
and he deserves that.
Right.
The show has a lot of really great actors. One of the characters was one of my favorite characters from Orange Is the New Black. Flocka, I think, was her name. But the show is wonderful. I'm about 3 episodes in, and the season just finished on Friday. I think it was a 15-episode run. And the episodes I saw were very well written. They were smart. They were funny. Everything Alan Tudyk said was fucking hilarious. And I feel like everyone needs to give this show a shot, especially because of how bad Titans was and how easily that soured me on DC Universe.
See, that was the thing.
Especially with Swamp Thing coming out around the
Yeah.
corner. And
Swamp Thing comes out like this week.
And it's already been getting like great critical reviews of not only
Yeah.
being a great DC show, but just a great horror show in general.
Yeah. So
Imagine that DC is doing great television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With one exception, because Titans is dumb and no one likes that.
Yeah,
But
Titans was. I tried to like Titans.
Titans was an experiment.
I really
Yeah,
did try
it
to
was
like
experiments in what if we took Teen Titans and made it fucking awful.
All right.
Oh, wait, they already did that
were
when they changed the
were
animation.
those your recommendations for
Those
the
are my recommendations. All of these shows you need to watch. This is not a, hey, check it out if it's okay or if you're into that. No. Every show from Barry to Doom Patrol to Chernobyl, watch all of these shows. I'm not even
They're just
kidding.
good
Like
stuff.
these need to be must-watches on your list.
Okay. What about you, Tony? What did you do this week?
Well, the one thing I remember most is because last night I was watching, I decided, I'm finally going to start season 2 of Westworld.
Okay.
And I am 3
yeah.
episodes into
Yeah.
season 2 of Westworld. I'm this is the, all right, so
Are you
I'm-
just hilariously confused?
I enjoyed season 1 a lot.
Okay.
Because it was confusing.
So for some of our audience who maybe have not caught on to it, what is the premise of Westworld?
Westworld is specifically, we kind of know it's an island where robots, animatronic humans wander around and do robot stuff.
I can if you
in
don't
the Old
mind.
West.
So
My
what-
version's way funnier than what the show actually is. Okay.
So what we have is a Jurassic Park scenario where we have a giant park where it is the Old West and people get to go in costume with toy guns and live in this Old West town where all of the people in this town are actually robots. They're animatronics. Everything down to the livestock, everything except for the flies, basically is a robot. And
even that we're not sure of.
Right, and well, that one we actually do know. That one's the one thing that Westworld has given away. The flies are not robots.
Okay, I don't remember that part, but okay, yes, I'll go with it.
But that being said, the show is about the people who go to this park, about the founders of this park, about the people who run this park, and about the eventual robot uprising.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and season 2, the first season, very much a interesting experiment in storytelling,
Right?
Because you're dealing with multiple timelines.
Yeah.
And that actually is a spoiler, me telling you that's multiple timelines.
Okay.
Because you're not supposed to understand what's really going on.
Right.
And season 2, I started it when it first came out, and I just was like, I'm bored already. I'm so bored. The first episode just didn't hold my interest.
Right.
First episode had 3 timelines.
Yeah. And,
In the second season, yeah.
and I was like, okay, well, I'm finally now. It's all wrapped up, and they're starting to spoil season 2 on the news feed
by showing
because
season
showing the
3
season
stuff.
3 stuff. So I was like, fuck it. If I don't watch it now, I'm going to have all of season 2 spoiled for me.
Yep.
And I already kind of did a little bit. Fuck you, Sci-Fi Channel. They posted a thing about like what's coming on in season 3. I was like, I hate headlines that spoil shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been trying to get through that. It's very much a show that it requires a lot of attention.
Right.
Because
Yes. Agreed.
so much is going on. Even when it's boring,
It's
something
definitely,
important's happening.
Even when there's like nothing going on, there's a ton of subtext.
Yeah.
Everything is everything in that show.
and I love it, and I think that it will go down as one of the best television shows ever created.
Yeah.
Because of the way you're telling a story in a way that's very hard to understand and requires a level of skill in storytelling, and they're doing a really good job overall. Even though I got bored in the first episode, they're doing a very
You
good
would still
job.
recommend Westworld.
I would
though.
still recommend it for people who like way too heady sci-fi shit.
Yeah.
Anything else you did this week?
I don't remember. My computer died and I got mad.
It was a pretty easy week for me. I'm not going to bog anybody
I hate
down
when
with
that
details. I've been laid up sick for an entire week on antibiotics, so this is my first drinking in a week. So let's have fun with that.
Hell yeah.
You're
But
about to have fun in 20 minutes.
I am about to have fun in 20 minutes. But aside from that, it was basically just a catch-up week for me. I finished Transistor, immediately restarted Transistor.
Yes, Transistor.
Then it was mostly catching up on CW shows. It was I watched season 2 and 3 of The Expanse. I just binged that.
Yeah.
Really, the newest thing in air quotes that I did this week is I picked up the book for the first book of The Expanse.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I decided to actually start going through the first book, mostly because I want to understand the world a little bit better now that I'm completely caught up with the show, and I don't want to like read past kind of where the show is.
Yeah.
But I want to really get more of a deep dive into the universe, and I feel like the books are going to give me that.
Definitely that. I feel like there are 3 seasons, and it's pretty much season for book right now. So as long as this next season goes according to plan, you can probably read through the first 4 books without a problem.
Yeah. All right. So that's everything we have for the prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our main news segment, the weekly raid.
Yeah, I don't remember a single thing that I did aside from
That's fine.
I played Destiny on PC, and then
Yeah.
I was hoping, like, the reason why I'm mad about my computer dying, because I'm pretty sure my motherboard is like just kind of crapping out.
Oh,
like I can get to
that sucks.
BIOS, but it keeps not detecting the M.2 drive, and then keeps randomly not detecting the video card.
Is your M drive your OS
Like,
drive?
yeah, that's the problem. It's either that or a old spinny platter, and I'm like, I'm not installing Windows on that, and it's gonna be slow as shit.
Yeah.
So either my M.2 or my motherboard died. I'm like, cool. So that's like $100 that I've got to go buy new stuff for that I wasn't planning. No, I was gonna take some of the people I joined the Lone Star Vanguard clan on PC because they actually play and shit. And
Obsessively.
yeah, not obsessively, because I took them to do shit they hadn't done before.
Well, Wolf does. Wolf is getting
Wolf has done all of this. Wolf's like, no, I've already done that. I don't have a reason to join you. But Wolf messaged me. He's like, hey, do you want to do the cheese thing to get Outbreak perfected? And I was like, because I was told him, like, I can do that for you. I play with a controller. That means I can press 2 buttons back and forth for a half an hour, and you can kill everything.
Yeah.
Because the timer won't start until I stop pressing these 2 buttons. And it was like, you can do that? And I'm like, yeah. It's the game. It's a glitch in the game. You can just fucking
need a
do
controller.
that. It's like you just need a controller. This is why controllers are better than keyboard and mouse.
All right, let's jump into this. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Let's do it.
Yeah. The weekly raid.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Weekly Raid. It is our news roundup for the week. All right, so last week we were talking a little bit about PlayStation Productions, which is the new Sony studio that's going to take properties from PlayStation and start producing them as movies or television shows.
Which I don't think we talked about. I think we talked about we wanted Spider-Man because we really like the Spider-Man video
we
game.
talked about that, yeah.
But because that's already part of Sony's studios outside of video games, I don't think they can do it. I don't think they're going to be allowed to. I think Marvel's going to have their hands way too much on that.
Well, my biggest one was Bloodborne, and I really hope
But they don't own Bloodborne.
It's not from software.
Yeah.
They're not
Still,
From
though.
software doesn't.
So we do have the first two announcements as of this last week. One of them has just been announced. The other one apparently is in advanced development, in air quotes. We found out, first off, that Twisted Metal is going to be getting a TV show from PlayStation Productions.
All I can think of is why. Every time someone says Twisted Metal TV show, I just picture David Jaffe yelling at me through a TV screen.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had a TV show that was about just cars? Like
It
no
was called-
people.
It was called
just
Blood
cars.
Drive, and none of you watched it, and everyone should be ashamed of themselves. That was the greatest
I
fucking
logged on
show.
to like this sci-fi channel to watch it, and then I went, no, I'm gonna go do something else. I distinctly remember going, no, I don't want to do
There's
that.
a lot of characters. If you've played the Twisted Metal games, obviously the drivers are characters in and
Yeah.
of themselves.
There's
and
the
there is a
clown
universe.
one and the-
I have a hard time
It's the only
wrapping
one anybody
my head
remembers.
around like a Twisted Metal TV show. Is that something that we need and or do I want?
No.
Or are we throwing this out there like the Titan show? We're just getting it out there
Yeah.
and just like as the test.
Oh,
Why
God.
that one? Why not start with Uncharted? Why not start
well,
with Uncharted?
well, that's the other bit of news that we
Seriously,
had this
why
week,
not?
though,
The
is that
perfect one.
that Sony Pictures Entertainment actually came out and said, yes, we announced the PlayStation Productions last week, but actually an Uncharted movie adaptation is way in development. Like we're
Okay.
pretty far in.
Okay,
We're actually pretty
I figure
far
it's like
into
the
it.
Halo TV show. Like
Yeah.
they're doing things and
They just
making things.
didn't
they're just
want
not
to
talking
talk about it
it
until they'd finalized
That's
everything
fair.
in the Sony banner here.
Yeah.
So you have one thing that we're really excited about, which we're hearing rumors that Tom Holland might be attached to it to play like a young Nathan Drake.
Ooh, I like that.
That's rumor mill right now.
I don't. I mean, even though I've played most of the Uncharted games,
Did you play Uncharted 4?
I have yet to play
There's
Uncharted
a young
4.
Nathan Drake that,
Okay.
that could totally do
But
Tom Holland.
unless they're taking the exact storyline from the video game, I don't want him just spoiling the entire plot line of this movie that I'm excited for. Because I know that's what he's going to do, because he can't fucking keep his mouth shut.
It's okay. You can talk about the end of a fucking Nathan Drake movie all you want. Just don't fucking talk about the end of Infinity War. What the fuck is wrong with you?
All right, so I don't know. On one hand, not excited so much for Twisted Metal. I mean, it could be cool. They could do something really crazy with it.
I had a great
Maybe
idea.
maybe
They
it'll
have
be
to
cool.
do what I did with Twisted Metal, which was in the middle of the game, take the disc out and put in Metallica's like Load album and play that audio on top of playing the game, because the original PlayStation would buffer the game into memory.
I
and you could play
think that
audio
you
on
have a
top
very
of it.
poor perception on what makes a good movie, Tony.
No, it's because Twisted Metal's not gonna be a good movie. There's like no way. you
Or
can
a
make that
TV
good.
show.
Yeah, it's
like,
nothing
holy
good.
It's
fuck.
supposed to be a TV show.
Nothing
Like,
good
how do
can
you-
come from Twisted Metal.
How do you make a TV show?
Barely
out of
makes
this?
a passable video
Twisted
game.
Metal is not a story. It is the porn of stories. It
Yeah.
is the pizza guy came over and now we're fucking of stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what we already have Death Race 2000. Like, do we need another car like driving around?
No,
killing
you
people with
can't
cars?
beat
Though-
Death Race. It had Ian McShane.
I'm going to go
Why even try?
devil's advocate here and say that because our bar is so low for a Twisted Metal TV show,
Anything could
they
be good.
might be able to pull something.
They
great
could
out of
probably
this.
impress us with very little.
Honestly,
You're right.
I would love it if they're like in the middle, like you're about to reach this really cool action sequence, like you see two cars like going right at each other, and then they animate it because it's way fucking cheaper, and they can do giant explosions, and like fuck it, and like you know what, you could do interesting stylizations with
Yeah.
it.
No, this should be very easy. Look, all they have to do is be like Twisted Metal, the TV show, and you're like, fuck me, get out. And it's like starring Jason Statham and Vin Diesel and The Rock. And it's
Oh,
like,
hell yes.
Okay,
I'm on board.
I'm watching
I'm
that
slightly erect
already.
now.
Yeah. I am building a time machine so I can go to the future and watch this.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on from all of that. But let's keep in the realm of movies here for a hot minute. We normally don't talk about things that are kind of up and coming unless they've been finalized, right? I try unless there is a definitive
We don't not too much
date.
rumory.
Right.
We don't try to go rumory about this, but it was announced this week that a Knights of the Old Republic movie is not only being written, but is mostly done being written.
What are we going to do with that?
And so what we have is, I believe the
I was
writer,
gonna say BioWare's gonna fuck
the,
it over.
The person who's writing the screenplay for Knights of the Old Republic is actually the person who wrote the screenplay for Battle Angel Alita.
Ooh.
Weirdly, even though I have a Battle Angelita cup over there, we did the Battle Angelita experience. I still get to see Battle Angelita.
But you did see it.
I did see it, and it was awesome, and I
I'm
loved it.
kicking
And
myself for not going to see it.
I've been tracking the Blu-ray release of that movie for like the last month because I really want to see it.
It should be coming out like in a month from now,
Yeah,
right?
it's not even that. It's like 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Okay, cool. Because I think I'm gonna have more fun watching it at home.
So I guess the big
think.
question here is, how did you feel about the writing in Battle Angel Alita?
I thought it was great. They did a great job with that movie in general, considering
It's hard to transfer.
Yeah, considering what they were adapting it from, they made it approachable, they made it interesting, they made it understandable, and not even in an anime sort of way. It was a perfectly fleshed out sci-fi experience in the vein of, I don't know, say like any of the Neil Blomkamp movies.
Okay.
Like if you watch Chappie or
Section 8.
Section 8, like it's a fully fleshed out sci-fi experience.
That you understand the world enough
Yeah.
going just by the film
Yeah.
to get and gather the information
Yeah.
necessary
Do you feel
to
like
totally
feel like
left
it
me
left
wanting
this.
more?
So I guess that brings to the next question. Do you believe this writer, because you've seen that movie, has the chops to do Knights of the Old Republic? I mean, this is a world that, yes, it exists in the video games, but
Yeah.
it's really not a very well-known era.
Well, think about what you're asking me. You're asking me if the guy who was able to make a Battle Angel Alita movie out of like some pretty weird anime will be good at writing Star Wars.
Yeah,
That's rough.
It's hard.
It's true.
Nobody is. George Lucas isn't good at writing Star Wars.
true, that's
So
true.
like,
fucking created it.
so like, there's a lot to be said about who can write a good Star Wars story. My answer is I hope so, because I feel like he does have the chops.
From an adaptation standpoint, yeah, I would say yes.
I don't know if we're...
But,
I
it's
don't
Star
even...
Wars.
Yeah.
It seems to be the one thing that Star Wars fans all have in common is they hate Star Wars.
But we all seem to be going to this train where we're like, we assume that when Knights of the Old Republic is announced as a movie,
Right.
we automatically go to this mindset where it's like, oh, they're adapting the video game. But like,
no, there's so much more to that
but
universe.
the Old
Yeah.
Republic era,
Yeah.
not to like seriously nerd out here, but the Old Republic era spanned such a long period of time. You could tell so many stories.
Yeah.
You could tell a trilogy of movies that only hints around the idea of Darth Revan.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so much you can do with that.
Yeah, you can take like all of the prequels we have, go back like 1,000 years and tell amazing Jedi
Yeah,
stories.
and
Well, but the thing is, Disney's already said that Star Wars as a franchise is going to take a few years off.
Yeah.
So no matter how far along in development this is,
Yeah.
it's still like 7 to 8 years before
Sure,
release.
sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody needs to put on their like their blinders and just kind of not think about this for a while.
Yeah.
Because yes, it's being announced, kinda,
Right.
because this hasn't been announced by Disney at one of their giant Disney events. It's more of like a leak that's happened, and
I
shit,
mean,
we have to
to
cover.
be
ass.
fair, everybody's
Beef out.
big feeling about this when it was originally announced was, I just want to see HK-47 like on the screen.
I just want to see
But-
a
but-
movie. I want
But
to see
Alan
an entire
Tudyk's already
movie.
been in a Star Wars movie.
I
That's
know,
all right.
right?
I wouldn't.
Because I want Alan Tudyk. to
Alan
play.
Tudyk can be the Force if he wants to. Like you can give the Force a voice, and as long as it's Alan Tudyk, I would watch a movie about Kyle Katarn tomorrow.
My favorite
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk moment was he was doing lines for Moana, and he
He was doing chicken noises.
he was doing chicken noises, and they were doing the documentary part of it. So he just looks to the camera and goes, "I went to Juilliard." And the rest, it's just he only makes chicken noises in that movie.
Yeah, and he is amazing at it.
Yes, he's perfect.
He made the best chicken noises.
Chat says they want to see a Dash Rendar movie. Man, I was a big fan of Shadows of the Empire. It would be a really...
Shadows of the Empire was a really cool time in our childhood.
Yeah, it was.
Because we got a Nintendo 64, and then all of a sudden we got a fucking FPS Star Wars game on our Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that was a really crazy time. All right, so
The past was
Hector,
weird.
I've been excited about talking about this next bit of news with you all week. One of the strangest announcements that happened this week is a new handheld video game system that's going to be coming out.
No.
It's called the Playdate.
The Playdate.
Yes, and it is being
No.
created by the people who made the game Firewatch.
I love that game.
Yeah, so it's the software developer Panic. So they're making this new handheld system.
It looks like an old thin Game Boy.
It does. It only has like an AB button and a
Yeah.
D-pad.
Yeah.
But more specifically, its biggest feature is it has a pop-out hand crank.
Yeah, it also doesn't have a backlit screen. It has the equivalent of a Kindle screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has a hand crank on it.
Yeah.
And the hand crank is not so you can power it without batteries.
It's a
the
game
hand
feature.
crank is a controller feature, the same way the A and B buttons are meant to be used in games.
Yeah, and this.
So we're getting
and-
a fishing game soon
And
from
if you
them.
think that
There will be a fishing game.
if you think this is strange just on
This
its
is very
own,
odd.
It gets weirder.
It
It gets so much weirder.
fucking gets weirder. So the cost of the system is going to be $150, which is about standard for a handheld game.
Yeah.
That is a lot for something I don't want to play.
Well, it's going
You just need to like calm down and let us get through this because there's a lot to digest here.
I have commentary on things.
So you have handheld system, A, B, D-pad, hand crank.
Yeah.
$150,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Okay.
Can see that.
Now tell me about the
It's-
games.
So let's talk about the games. It's going to get 12 games at launch
Okay.
over a period of time.
Right.
Honestly,
So hold on.
Not
let,
long.
let me
Wait,
explain.
wait.
So the $150 that you're buying into with this handheld system is essentially a game pass that over time you are going to be getting the first season of games for this handheld device
Right.
are going to be 12 games. They could be AAA, they could be, just
Yeah.
a fishing game, whatever. And they're all going to be
lot of
released
fishing games.
over time. It's a really strange concept, but it's supposed to be an experiment essentially
Yeah.
for the company.
So what you do is you buy a season of games, and
they
you
have that
get-
much money they can experiment with this? Because that sounds like a
You
bad
get
experiment.
12 games over 12 weeks that you're free to experience in any order you want.
So it's $150 for 12 games, and you have to play them on this.
You don't have to play them in any amount of time, but,
No, I mean, but
one
you
will
play
come
them
out
on this
a
thing.
week for 12 weeks,
And you play
then
them
you
on
can
the
buy
thing.
a second season of games at some point in the future.
Does it come with a new game, or new controller that doesn't have a crank on it?
No, it's for the same console.
Okay, and just downloads it to it.
Yeah, it's a cloudy thingy.
Yeah, it's all like
Okay.
the system. It's got Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's got Bluetooth in it. It's got its own like USB-C and headphone jack. It's got
Yep.
it's
Everything but a
decked out.
backlight.
Yeah,
It's got USB Type C, man. That shit's not cheap. That's
Right.
like $30 right there.
but I'm fascinated by this because I don't think it's going to be something that sells very well. It's going to be an interesting
It's
part.
super not gonna
It's
sell
going to be an
well.
interesting part of video game history.
I am fascinated by it because of the balls it took someone to make this.
Right.
Is this actually? No, chat made me think. Is this Fire Island? Is this the Fire
see, and
Festival
that's the thing.
of consoles?
My first thought was like, this is a fraud. One will never
Yeah.
be made. But they already have them.
Yeah.
They are being made and released. This isn't Soldier Boy's like Phantom X console that plays not only Sony and Xbox but also Nintendo games, just regardless of laws and common sense.
Which is something we haven't talked about on the podcast.
There's no reason to talk about it.
It was such a weird bit of news to talk about because essentially it wasn't the base concept that Soldier Boy like made a handheld console or something that was just emulators.
Yeah, it
And
was
then-
just
and
emulators.
just sold it online like it wasn't illegal to do that, and then just got busted like immediately.
Oh yeah, it's like the website goes up, the lawsuits go up,
Yeah.
just like boom boom.
So this is again, I wouldn't mind actually investing in this just to have this bit of video game history.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have one around and be like, y'all know what this
Like,
is.
honestly,
I bet you don't.
Like if the three of us went in and bought one together,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we could just trade it around and be like, "Hey, I played this like this.
Hey,
here
did you
go,
play
it's
the new
your turn."
game this week? No. Was
Fishing
it fun?
Simulator.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, like
You keep
that.
it.
That seems acceptable to me. But like, there's no way in hell
Look,
all of us are spending $150 each
Sure,
on
but I
these
think
things.
it's cool that we do live in an era where a company is willing to take a risk on something,
Yeah.
not for the sake of it really being successful, but to try something new and different.
Agreed.
Right, and I think that that's what we do need. In this world where we're having to pay $300 for an Oculus headset with no games and no hope for VR being any good.
No
Maybe
shit.
I mean,
experimenting.
even with Facebook recently releasing a new version of the Oculus headsets and dropping the price on it, there's no fucking point. There's
But-
zero fucking point.
Brooklyn had a beautiful idea in chat: sausage grinding simulator.
Sausage grinding
Sausage grinding
simulator.
simulator. Hell yeah.
I would crank that shit all day. Oh my
I was
god.
just thinking, like, what if you had a game where it's just the song "You Spin Me Right Round," but you have to do it to the exact BPM, otherwise you fail.
Otherwise,
See, the
you
games
get-
write themselves.
Yeah, they
guys.
really do.
We're just going with crank games.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, there's a crank game and it's sausage grinding
We could
simulator.
bring back that show from like the early 2000s, Crank Yankers.
But every so many points,
It was not about.
Amazon sends
Shut up, it is now.
sausage to your house. So like, you just keep cranking and it keeps sending you food. And now it's like hunger simulator.
Dude, I could use a good amount of sausage in my life.
Yeah, well, all you got to do is crank.
Dude, I put all the sausage in my mouth is what I would like to happen.
All right, so let's move on from the cranking machine. Let's talk very briefly about DC Comics. A lot of times
Departure.
when we talk about DC Comics, we talk about a lot of the negative stuff. We talk about all the variant covers. We talk about the resets, with the most recent reset actually sticking and being good.
With one exception, we talk about how they just, for the past like nearly about 2 years now, dominated the fuck out of the sales.
It's true.
Of
It's
issues.
true. They've completely been dominating the comic book industry, which almost makes our next news topic a little bit more interesting. Because we found out this week that DC Comics is going to stop double shipping comics next year.
All right, explain that for people.
For people who don't know, there's a very limited amount of comics that exist within the DC universe, like Detective Comics, Batman, Flash, Justice League, and Wonder Woman. These are comics that are bi-monthly. That means they have 2 comics that come out that a fan has to go out, spend money to keep up with that title twice a month.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they did this. Marvel had a similar thing with Spider-Man. Like Amazing Spider-Man was coming out like weekly for a while.
Yeah.
There was also like 4 Spider-Man titles in the 90s. Like it was a lot.
No, this was like since we've been doing this show. There was at one point Marvel's like, no, Amazing Spider-Man comes out every single week, and you're like.
Yeah.
No, that's
the,
too much.
The
Like even if you drop the price by $1, it's still way too much.
Yeah, the book me and James were talking about last week.
Which one?
Yeah, any more information?
I need you to explain a little bit.
Give us more
extrapolate on
details.
You remember the title of the book, Slugfest?
Okay.
Yeah. So they describe times in like the competition between the MCU and the DCU, throwing like hundreds of comics a month at readers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a big thing. It was
My wallet hated them for that.
There was an
Yeah.
oversaturation of the market at that point. So what DC did, and they did this completely their own volition. This wasn't a fan retaliation thing or anything. They looked at the numbers and said, you know what? It's probably unfair to fans that we're making them come out and buy more than they probably should. So why don't we put out 1 Batman title a month, 1 Justice League title? Let's just go back, dial it back, tell one really good, concise story, and make sure that our readers have the budget to be able to come in and buy that one title that they want to watch.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I think maybe somebody just went back and watched Ghostbusters when Egon said, like, hey, Prince dead. And they were like, oh, shit, we print things. And
I love that we have like a time to Ghostbusters button on this show, and it just
it's like a time to MTV button. It's just video killed the radio star all over again.
it's always going to happen.
But I mean, this is the big deal because DC notoriously, and again going back to the book that you and I both read, DC has price gouged in the past. They have really, they've taken their limited readership and really abused them for every penny.
Oh yeah,
and
they've gone from a quarter to 50 cents in like a matter of like
comic
a single
book fans
week.
are in an abusive relationship with comic book companies. And it's been that way since the dawn of comic book books.
Right, but
Or
for DC
fandom, at
to
least.
step up and go like, hey, look, let's just dial it back, tell one really good story a month, and not be bumping up our print numbers and bumping up our sales
I
numbers.
feel like this is a good change. This is a good idea. I just feel like they're gonna like in 6 months just fuck it right over.
Well, it's a new 52 all over again.
Yeah.
It's like we're consolidating down to this. This is everything. A week later, we got another.
But we're doubling that. We're doubling that. Sorry, we're gonna do that. We're doing this other thing called DC Plus, where we're making twice as many comic books that are only digital subscription.
Look,
Well,
guys-
that's a very DC thing to do. To be like, hey, we're doing this DC thing. The first thing is going to suck.
Let's just keep-
but
let's
it
just-
gets better after that.
Let's just be happy for a minute that a comic book company is respecting our wallets and trying to take care of us.
No,
for a
I
minute.
agree, and I feel like that's great.
Yeah.
It's unexpected, but I am happy that they are considering that not everybody has the amount of money to buy every single comic book all the time.
Speaking of which, I have a story that I feel like I should share with everyone. Earlier this week, a few weeks ago, I ordered some comics from my local comic shop. It's called the Dragon's Lair. It's here in Austin, and they heard me. They ordered me what I asked for, and when it came in.
For context, you ordered. I recommended to you Matt Fraction's Hawkeye.
Yes, exactly.
And so they
great
said,
run.
They said, "Hey, look, there's 4 volumes of this."
Yeah, and so
They're like
I
$15-20 each.
Yeah, and I walked up and I was like, I want all 4 volumes. And they're like, okay, we'll get those ordered for you. No big deal. We'll call you when they're ready. So this week, I went in and they had already called me to tell me that they're ready. And I go in and he pulls out like this giant omnibus and these 2 other issues. And I immediately figure the omnibus was the first 2 sections.
The first
and
2
that-
trades.
Right, and the other 2 were just the last 2 trades. Because for
Yeah.
whatever reason, they made a big book of the first 2
It,
trades.
it happens, and
It does
sometimes
happen.
It's easier for them to go. Here's
So-
the price of this
Yeah,
one. You
so
get
I
the
look
better
at
version.
him. I look at it. I don't question a thing. He slaps it down and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh wait, hang on." And he starts looking in the 2 other trades and in the omnibus and he goes, "Oh, the omnibus is everything. You don't need these 2."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I've never been more grateful to my local comic shop ever.
But they didn't make you spend like an extra
and-
40
yeah, for
bucks.
He
the
could have
record-
easily let me buy those because I was not putting up any kind of a fight. I was like,
Yeah,
I
you're
can't,
just- you're
I
throwing
can't-
money at the
I
issue.
can't wait to buy these. And he goes, oh, wait, I don't need you to buy the same thing twice. This is all of these stories, so you don't need these. And he just gives me the
And
omnibus.
that is great because if you had known that, you'd be like, no, these are for somebody else. This
Yeah.
one's for me. And you're like, okay, then cool. But he's like, when somebody cares enough about their
Yeah.
job and your enjoyment of comic books, you're like,
Yeah.
why are you buying twice? No, just buy this one. You're
This
good.
was not a small process. I already
No.
checked out and
Yeah,
everything.
no,
I'm like looking
this
through
took
the
like
board
10
games.
minutes for him to confirm
Yeah.
because he didn't know the omnibus didn't have everything. He
literally went page by
assumed
page.
and then started looking. So like he went like many extra
There's
miles.
generally a page that tells you what issue numbers that.
And on the
every-
very
Right.
back there, it would
Yeah,
tell
I was
you
gonna
what
say,
issues
still
and
right,
what
it's a-
thing.
But he wanted to verify. He wanted
Yeah.
he literally triple checked himself. So big shout out to Dragon's Lair for that.
Yes.
Like
Huge
you,
shout
That's
out.
actually that's really awesome.
you guys have
honestly.
like people coming in for life at this point. Like you guys are awesome.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
never stop going there.
And
at this point.
there have been I've had some bad comic book going experiments in my life, like just bad shops, and they don't last
Yeah.
long. Dragon's Lair has been around for a long time. Tribe's been
Yeah.
around for a long time. Austin Books and Comics been around for a long time. The ones that Austin has here, we love because they take care of you. And I
Oh look, you actually give a shit about the people who come into your store and they want to come back.
yeah, no,
Exactly.
I've been to some bad ones, and they were around for like
And for the
25 years,
record-
and then they shut down when they started getting
and
that
not
attitude.
for nothing, I've been to a lot of comic book shops in my life. Dragon's Lair does have a comic book shop cat. It's a
Yeah, they do.
it's a bodega cat. but in
Yes,
a comic
and
book
it's
shop.
adorable. And there's a sign about her. There, and it has all of her D&D stats and whether or not you're allowed to approach her. And like it has everything.
One of the things I really like about, specifically about Dragon's Lair, is they have basically a library function where they have a section where you get your library card and you go to there and check out comic books and bring them back, and it doesn't cost you anything aside from like your library card subscription. And there you fucking go. You get to pay like $5 a year, and you get to check out whatever book they have on the shelf.
Yeah.
that is awesome.
That is
like
awesome.
think about that. I mean, also go to your libraries. They have comic books. too.
There are also libraries with comic book sections now, and you should also always support your local public library.
So yes, if you're ever in the Austin area, definitely go check out Dragon's Lair comics.
You're gonna have-
Or
you're gonna have
other
fun
ones.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. I do. You know what? Chat just brought up something very interesting. I didn't put this in the news. Let's just very, very briefly touch on this. Stan Lee's former manager was arrested over the last week, officially charged with elder abuse.
Yeah.
It was something that was rumored to have happened.
Yeah, we heard
Apparently-
we knew before his death there were some rumors about his treatment and especially
Yeah.
his finances, about what was going on, and we were all like, we really hope this isn't true because
I don't want to think of like
literally the world
yeah.
loves this guy.
Yeah, but thank you, Warhawk, for pointing that out. We did want to bring that up, but I forgot to put it in the news. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
So-
just as long as the guy gets arrested. I mean, that's all I want.
Dude, if that guy gets arrested and goes to prison, do you realize what's going to happen
If it
to the
yeah,
person?
do you have any idea how many
Guys,
prisoners
if
just
it didn't
picks up
happen,
comic books as a hobby?
let's hope the justice system can prove whether it happened or not. That's all.
Oh yeah,
Let's not just throw him into the fire immediately.
Sure.
the justice system is so good at figuring out who's
I watched enough Law and Order to know that it is.
Ding ding.
All right.
Equal.
So,
Chum,
here
chum.
on the show, we are giant esports fans. Of course, we are all huge Overwatch League fans.
Oh, yeah?
We are definitely a Houston Outlaws household here.
Oh my god, they suck
Yeah.
so much.
They've
this
been having a
season.
rough
they
season.
had a rough season.
I mean,
I still got my
I-
shirt. I'll still wear it with pride.
I love my boys, but oh man,
Ugh.
I've seen
I
less
have a
dick
friend-
sucking in porno.
I have a friend who sometimes wears a Dallas Field shirt, and I just rib him and
Oh, you have
for
to
it.
because Dallas
Yeah.
Dallas already is the worst.
Yeah.
But then they also have sports teams which are the worst.
Okay, so there was a giant shakeup in the world of the Overwatch League, and I don't want to stick on this too long because I don't want to bore everybody, but this is important. The Overwatch League's boss, their commissioner, Nate Nanzer, left the Overwatch League this week to join Epic, where he's going to be working on Fortnite esports.
Yikes!
Now, the Overwatch League...
There's two things I want less of. It's Tencent and Epic and also Fortnite.
So this is a huge fucking deal
I
when you
want
think about
none of
this,
all of those.
because when you think about the Overwatch League, Nate Nanzer really was the forefront of it. Now the league was put on by a lot of people, and the backbone of the league is still in place. But the commissioner, the guy who really was the face that really headed up a lot of what's currently going on in the Overwatch League, just
You got
stepped
people to
back.
spend millions of dollars.
Right,
Yeah.
millions of dollars.
A
to make
lot
this-
of people to
to make a
spend a lot of millions.
franchise, to make the Overwatch League something that we now watch on ESPN.
Yep.
And also on Disney, fucking the Disney
Yeah.
Channel now. That is a thing that he helped do, and now he is moving over to Fortnite. This is ridiculous.
I don't know. Okay, so I think his greatest challenge is rebranding Fortnite players as a culture. Because there was no question, there was no like average perception of the Overwatch player when Overwatch League started. I don't think.
Yeah, they use the Houston Owls as the face of Overwatch.
Right.
They're still using them.
But what I'm saying is the fucking game was an endgame. Fortnite players are associated badly with their emotions.
Sure. Well,
the scene in Endgame, which we'll talk about later, was basically someone abusing
Korg.
a Korg and Thor threatening to go to his house and murder him. That was what Fortnite discourse is in the cultural zeitgeist.
Right. It's this belief that Fortnite is for 12-year-olds.
Yeah, no, in my mind, that's
And then
whenever you say
12-year-olds are
Fortnite,
pieces
I
of
go,
shit.
cool, 12-year-olds that I fucking hate because for some reason they've all fucked my mom. And I can't stand them.
Well,
It's a cartoon game that I would never enjoy.
And when
the player base is literal shit.
Right, but when we hear, like when Apex came out, there was this big move to Apex because there was a perception that the adults that played Battle Royale games were forced to play Fortnite. Now we have an adult Battle Royale.
Yeah.
The adults went to Apex, the kids stayed with Fortnite.
Yeah.
If Nate Nanzer is going to do to Fortnite what he did with the Overwatch League, he's going to have a lot of work ahead of him because he has to destroy that perception that it's just the kiddie game for kids.
How do you
hope he
destroy?
fails.
How do you destroy the perception that Fortnite is for kids when Fortnite is for kids?
Yeah, no. Whenever I'm walking through the grocery store and I see Fortnite blankets and pillows,
right? But I also see
for kids.
Overwatch pillows and blankets.
Okay, currently I just see Toy Story pillows and they're really creepy.
I've seen the big Mercy body pillow that Hector has in his bedroom.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's for...
There's strategic holes in that.
Well, I mean, when you flip it over, she doesn't have a top on, but that's a different story.
It's a reversible pillow. It's an art item.
It's an art. It's called hentai, and it's an art. All right, that's Hector's perception on the whole thing. But this is
the whole.
This is a big shakeup for the Overwatch League, and I don't think that we as viewers are going to notice it. But behind
the league's pretty pretty good right now.
Right, no, Overwatch
whether
has
it
their
lasts
formula.
6 years, we don't know.
No, Overwatch has their formula locked in. I'm not worried about Overwatch. I'm incredibly curious as to what changes can be made to Fortnite to make me even remotely interested in watching it.
I mean, he took Overwatch from a status of it just being a Blizzard game that we played on PCs or consoles and branded it in such a way that we actually care about these teams because we are now sports fans.
Here's the thing.
They did the same thing that everybody's been doing with CSGO and every other first-person shooter at the end of time.
This is different.
But they localized it by saying, this is Houston's team. This is Toronto's team. He didn't do anything fucking groundbreaking, and I don't think he can do that with fucking Fortnite.
First off, you're giving that not enough credit because that is a huge fucking deal.
We talked about it on the other podcast that we used to do.
We're still doing the podcast.
The thing is...
It's been a while.
The thing is that Overwatch at the highest level of play requires a great level of skill to play.
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite at the highest level of play is some kid named Ninja on Twitch. It doesn't require anything. It's a third-person shooter with recoil where you couldn't hit the side of a barn. Where when you are shot, the safest option you have is turning into an 8-story building.
Yeah, you can macro.
Inside.
You can literally just macro the button of build this giant fucking thing.
So when I think about competitive Overwatch and the kind of skill ceiling that it takes for two high-level teams to compete against each other, and then when I think about 100 esports personalities playing Fortnite against each other, I can't imagine that being fun to watch ever.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Is like at least in Overwatch League, there are people with their egos and they're being egotistical shithole players, but they have to play in a team environment to get together.
So that was going to be my point.
There's no like solo Genji in professional Overwatch. It's like all I do is play Genji and y'all can fuck yourself.
Then you're not allowed in Overwatch.
That guy is going to switch every time his team needs it, and that's how they.
Yeah,
win.
the team mechanics are the most important, and that's the thing that we haven't.
We saw how that worked out during the first season or first year of Overwatch League when you had like half the members of the Dallas Fuel were being egotistical assholes.
Yeah.
And
Everybody wanted to be the superstar. Nobody wanted to be a team player.
Yeah.
and they literally suffered massively for
Oh
it.
yeah, because the whole game is teamwork.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and move
Imagine
on from
that
Overwatch
team-based
League.
shooter.
We are in very, very heavy territory here. We only have one more news item to talk about before we jump into our main topic, the fun topic, which is Avengers Endgame.
Hell yeah.
But
Still a heavy topic.
we have a very heavy topic that we need to talk about this week, and there's a lot of parts to it, so I want to go ahead and preface what we are about to say with, we are not a political podcast. However,
Not a political podcast.
we do need to point out the fact that there's an anti-loot box bill that has actually gotten bipartisan support, which is in today's fucking America unheard of.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's very few things have gotten support from both sides of the aisle.
So what we have is a bill that talks about loot boxes and microtransactions in video gaming and how it affects children.
That's awesome because Borderlands 3 doesn't have microtransactions or loot boxes.
Except it
Let's
does.
not get. Let's
Sorry,
not,
that was me bringing back an
I was
old
going to
subject
say,
I'm still angry about.
let's not side tangent this. Let's get into the meat of this because there's a lot to unpack here that we have to talk about.
All up in that
This is very, very important.
Yes.
So what we have is our base facts is Senate bill, bipartisan support, anti-loot box, anti-microtransactions, under the premise that children can be influenced by it.
Right, and we're talking
Yes.
about U.S. law.
Yes.
And I've been saying on the show for quite a long time, these games should not have them because children can be influenced and then get early gambling addictions at a very young age,
Yeah.
and that will affect them for the rest of their lives. And this is what that is meant to address.
Right. And so this is the Children's from Abusive Games Act. And what it does is it essentially says, it talks to app developers, video game developers, all this saying like these things that you have implemented from loot boxes to microtransactions, no matter what it is, it's a broad spectrum from
Yeah.
Overwatch to Fortnite. This is something that
Shit,
is
every cell phone game ever.
This
Yeah.
is affecting our children, and that we need to do something about it. And right now, as it stands, it's a very aggressive stance because what it's meant to do is open the conversation.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, if the bill went through right now, like tomorrow, like a lot of companies would probably shut down.
Oh, yeah.
But what it's meant to do is say, like, look, the government is now looking at what you're doing in terms of monetizing your games and seeing the negative ramifications of it, and that we need to do something. And this is something that is not. This is something we've been talking about for the last 2 years on the show.
Yeah, maybe probably longer.
Right? We're talking
At
about
least the last 2
like,
years.
I remember you and I, me and Tony specifically, were at GDC in 2012 here in Austin, and half of the panels were discussions about monetizing your game.
How to add more microtransactions
which
to your
by
game.
itself, like how to monetize your game and make more money isn't a bad thing.
Right.
But we were in the middle of this, the beginning of the uprising of loot boxes, pay to win, all of this stuff. And I remember us going to GDC and having to fight for a panel that we wanted to attend because we're like, here's 5 panels that we want to go to. The other 50 just really are about monetization. We don't.
Yeah, no,
want
it was just it was a conference that felt like it wasn't about video games. It was how to release a product that you'll gain more revenue after you release the product.
Right.
Right.
And it was just like, cool. That's not game design
Yeah.
for me. That's not game theory. That's
So we
not
have
fun.
a really great comment from Warhawk in chat right now. He says that we've been void of major lobbying groups for the video game industry. Perhaps this bill proposal will lead to the advent of such a practice.
Well, there is one very noticeable video game lobbyist, and they're the ones that are fighting this the hardest.
Right.
In fact, they're
right.
the only one.
So
at
I
this
do want
point.
to talk about that as we kind of dive into this subject. So the ESA, the Electronic Software
Alliance or some
Alliance,
bullshit.
Something like that,
Yeah. We'll fact check that later.
After the big Senate bill and everything hit, the ESA came out and they did give their quote on the subject. And I do want to talk about this because this ties directly with what we were just discussing. Their quote was, "This legislation is flawed and riddled with inaccuracies. It does not reflect how video games work, nor how the industry strives to deliver innovative and compelling entertainment experiences to our audience. The impact of this bill would be far-reaching and ultimately prove harmful to the player experience, not to mention the more than 220,000 Americans employed by the video game industry. We encourage the bill's co-sponsors to work with us to raise awareness about the tools and information in place that keep the control of video game play and in-game spending in the parents' hands rather than the government's. What they are saying here is that essentially we want to sit down and have a conversation with the government about this bill so that we can do something about this. My question on the opposite side of this is, why did it take this long?
Well, because they weren't threatened before.
Right. I mean, that's the simple answer.
No, this is they've had this typed up for fucking like 5 years.
Right.
Like, I can guarantee you, this has been sitting there waiting to be like, oh fuck, they saw us, and they hit send.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what they did.
This is Palpatine going execute Order 66. This is
Yeah.
like, all right, send out the memo. The government noticed us.
They finally remembered that we're fucking over lots of people.
Let's go ahead and release the memo, and then I guess we'll work with them. It was inevitable. Party's over, guys.
Right, and this is not something that we're blind to when it comes as video game fans.
Right.
You know, if 2012 was when we went to GDC and they were talking about this stuff, we've been ranting about it for longer than all of this. It wasn't really. Oh man, I want to say the big nail in the coffin was probably Star Wars. Like Star Wars
the
Battlefront.
Battlefront.
The Battlefront backlash did hit to the point where it did, like, senators were getting notifications. You're like, hey, your people are pissed off because this game fucked them over.
Yeah, the game came out and like 1.5 million people bought copies, and the game was really unfair and was trying to fuck with them.
Yeah, and so what we have here is a positive and a negative situation, because what we have is a bill that's been introduced that now the ESA is coming out against and saying, like, you know, this isn't what it is. We're ready to come to the table.
Yeah.
And so amidst all this negativity, that's what it's bringing us. It's now saying, all right, now we can sit down at the table and talk about this. Whereas Belgium and, you know, other places are already going, all right, so we've been in the middle of this shit for a while now.
Yeah.
Fucking welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And the conversation has currently been going overseeing committee groups based on like EA and Activision. Everybody who wants to make this money is shoveling a shitload of money to send people to talk to these representatives and saying, nothing's wrong, children don't know, we're not doing that to children at all, nothing's bad. And they're literally just throwing money at the problem, which is what, you know, the tobacco industry does, and everybody else who has way too much money.
But we're seeing things in a different light here right now. Where normally it would be throw money at the problem and plug your ears, la la la, this is over. If it was just an America issue, you could do that.
Yeah.
But it's no longer an America issue.
True
you have New Zealand, you have Belgium, that already have their investigations going on.
We talked about it a while ago that the European Union has been looking into regulating loot boxes and in-game currencies, things
like
along this
something
nature.
That you could see like come up at a UN discussion.
And that's what I'm saying. No, not necessarily UN, but at least the European Union.
Yeah.
The European Union, if they say, no, there are no more loot boxes, there are no more gambling in games, America has to follow, because even if our game company because
I know we're not a political podcast. That was me getting a little political about this.
Our companies have to follow.
Right.
Not America
not
has to
really.
follow. Our companies have to, because they then can't release that game in that country.
Yeah, they can. Look, Budweiser had been releasing a Utah-specific
Yeah.
ABV beer
I mean, shit,
for a
fucking
long
Bungie
time.
released a special Korean
And
version
World of
Destiny.
Warcraft came out in China with no skeletons.
Tony,
in it.
you're on my
Yeah.
Tony, you're on my wavelength here. This is something that I talked about with Hector outside of the show when we were originally discussing this topic. I said, look, what we heard over the last couple of months, and we talked about it on the podcast previously, is that Bungie has two versions of Destiny. Everybody else's Destiny and like Korea Destiny.
Korea Destiny.
Yeah.
Korea Destiny is pay to win.
Yeah.
And it exists in its own bubble.
Ish. It is in its own bubble.
I'm just
it's
keeping
pay
it
to win
simple.
ish. Meaning, if you really want to spend some money, you actually can win some shit.
I don't want to overcomplicate this discussion about Destiny.
But characters have been changed, storylines have been changed to fit a market, and specifically to gain revenue from an area of the world that has very lax laws,
Okay.
and they can manipulate as much as they want.
That's
Right.
what I want to get into here, is that I was talking to Hector about this, and I'm like, I would not be surprised if you see more U.S. game companies start going the Bungie route, where you see two divisions.
Yeah.
Primary division is global sales and communication, and then you have a smaller market, which is, you know, the section is very focused on like the Korean market or maybe China or something along those lines. Those areas where pay to win is okay, and so they make a majority of their money off of that, but that money helps fund the other projects they're working
I honestly
on.
feel like
Yeah.
there's three sections that they'll have to create three versions of a game. There will be the no loot boxes, everything's controlled. You pay $60, you get the full fucking product, which is ideally what we all want, right?
Yeah.
I do.
A+.
Yeah, that's honestly.
I'd pay $80.
$90 for a game. If it's just the full fucking game, I'm right there on it. I don't fucking care. Then you're gonna have the middle ground, which is countries where sometimes loot boxes are okay, so it'll be like $60. There'll be some form of gambling in them, but it's be way reduced. And then you're gonna have the let's just rape these people because we can take all their fucking money.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have three versions of every game.
Abuse of capitalism.
Yeah,
That's the way I can put it.
it's super abusive,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's the reason you have three versions of the game. The first two can play nice with each other because one's not pay to win, one's you bought everything already. The third one has me completely segregated, at least in a logical system like Bungie put in place.
It's a complicated issue, and the fact that we are now hearing about Senate bills being passed, talking about loot boxes. I mean, this was not just pulling the trigger. This was firing an atomic weapon.
Yeah.
Like this was them going, nobody's having this conversation, and this greed is hurting people. So we'll throw the bill down, knowing the bill is probably going to get counteracted. But the fact that they said bipartisan fucking bill in the middle of a political climate here in the U.S. where bipartisanship does not fucking happen.
Yeah.
That literally doesn't exist.
That's saying, all right, video game companies, your fucking move.
Yeah.
It's fucking checkmate at this point. What are you going to do?
And we've already said on the show multiple times, we are, at least I am super on board for just getting rid of all loot boxes in every single video game.
Oh, yeah.
Getting rid of every form of gambling in every single game. If you want to have additional content, you purchase it directly. You can call it not microtransactions, even though that's what it is. I still think microtransactions should not exist. I'm looking at you, fucking stupid game.
Borderlands?
I'm still mad about Borderlands 3. It's still fucking angering me. We don't have microtransactions. Then what do you call that?
Except you can buy extra art assets for
Okay, first off,
money.
Borderlands never said that. One idiot said
One
that.
fucking idiot said that. But it put a bad fucking taste in my mouth about the game.
I know.
It's like here's a little bit of bleach with that
But
fun bit
if
you just
this is
had.
what it takes to open up the discussion about microtransactions and loot boxes, then so be it. I'm glad you brought out the atomic weapons because now we can have a fucking discussion. We're in the Cold War now.
But, all right.
Let's figure this whole thing out. And
Agreed.
it's going to be for people that are way above our pay grade to try and figure this out because the video game industry, for the longest time, has needed to regulate itself, but it's not going to unless something happens.
Unless someone makes them.
Until a Mortal Kombat happens, nobody will self-regulate.
Yeah.
See, that's the point that we're getting to, is I do not feel this bill will succeed in any form.
No.
It will be completely shut down. It will never exist. It will never even go up to fucking being law. It will never pass. The conversation it's starting is trying to tell the video game industry, if you do not regulate this, we will for you in such a dramatic fashion that you're not going to enjoy
That's
it.
exactly what the
I
ratings
don't
board...
think it's going to work, though. I do not. I think greed will outwin any ability for the video game industry to regulate itself at all.
It's never happened in the history of American businesses. Movies regulated themselves. Comic books regulated themselves. Eventually, video games, if given the chance, will just have to regulate themselves. And if they don't come up with the video games code of fucking loot boxes, then the government will do it to them.
Honestly, I think that it has
that.
to, for some degree, it does have to have government involvement, specifically on having gambling systems for people under the age of 18.
Sure. And there's a lot of complex moving parts to all of this. This is only the very beginning of this, which is funny because we've been saying that for the last 2 years of this podcast.
Yeah, true that.
We've been getting baby steps internationally for quite a while, and it has been helping spur this movement here, where we have a lot of these companies are housed.
Yeah.
They're American-based companies, and we're finally getting to the point where
There's
hey, the
shots
rest
fired.
of the world has gotten pissed off at you. Now you have to do something, deal with it at home as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that is everything that we have for the Weekly Raid. It's our news roundup for the week. If you have any opinions about any of the things that we've been talking about, please hit us up at info@thesurlynerd.com, or you can hit up me directly at thesurlynerd on Twitter. That being said, we're going to go ahead and close down the news segment, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to be going into the boss room.
I need to stand up and stretch for a
Just going to
minute.
grab a drink.
Yeah, I just need to stand up and
stretch.
All right, yeah. Boeing, yeah. The fucking flight industry is allowed to regulate itself. That works great when every plane goes down.
Considering all the planes that just went down recently.
Well, that was Warhawk's thing. It's like Boeing is allowed to regulate itself.
Yeah,
that worked really well.
and that's the thing is that okay, for the most part, airlines are a lot safer to fly than driving ever. That's just statistics. That being said, Boeing was so incredibly negligent with the crash that has been with the crashes that have been happening. That industry is going to need some regulation.
Right. The
Because-
idea that there was a software value that wasn't accounted
Because
for.
when there
Proves
is
my
a
fucking point. The X-Men would never get their fucking hand on an SR-71 fucking Blackbird.
He's been fucking
I've been
talking
fucking
about this
angry about this for
all
5
week.
days.
He's been just very angry about the
Wouldn't-
jet that the X-Men drive.
wouldn't Xavier be able to just like
That was my fucking thinking.
get the plan?
But you know what? He
And
doesn't have
then
the- he
be
doesn't have
like-
the machinery to make it. And even if you could convince somebody, just like, hey, that one on the factory floor, just bring it over here.
So I'm gonna explain
Right,
this.
right.
Well,
Makes me like, oh,
But
fuck
you see,
while we're on break, I'm gonna explain this because Tony's grabbing himself a new drink.
the thing
So-
about Hank is that he's like a brilliant engineer scientist, and he can just make shit.
The argument that Tony's been having with me all week is that the
Sort of like on your birthday.
X-Men were not allowed to have an SR-71 Blackbird because there's only a handful of them that exist in the world.
Let's
And
not
the-
forget that it was only an SR-71 Blackbird in the cartoon.
I'm pretty sure it is in the comics.
Oh, is it in the comics too? It was not in the Bryan
And
Singer
if the U.S.
movies.
government was like, they have a what? Nuke those motherfuckers. They are not allowed
So
to have
the argument
a
is,
spy plane.
can the X-Men have an SR-71? First off, it's a comic.
Yeah.
Second, like, it's also a comic.
Yeah.
So let him have it.
Literally, those 2 points are the only points that
Yeah.
matter. So it's a comic. I mean,
honestly, the
is
Christians
Batman allowed to have a single piloted, hovering, moving
I read
plane in a
read-
major metropolitan area?
I read issue 2 of Faithless this week, which is also very excellent. Do
Alright.
go pick up Faithless. But I mean, this is a story talking about a witch that has ungoverned powers, in which she basically made a bunch of guys gangbang each other.
That sounds
Don't worry, we had a
awesome.
good time.
Like, I mean, it's unregulated power. That's a
Yeah.
big deal. Like, shouldn't
Unregulated power
shouldn't
is
be
a
allowed
big
to have
deal.
that. So, I mean, it's very unrealistic.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, at that point.
You ever go to a
There's a
museum?
certain point where reality manipulation, stepping away from the reality of a game or a comic book or whatever, just becomes too great. And Batman, definitely that for me. Superman, super that.
Batman breaks all of like airspace violations like
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Constantly.
Every
I mean,
time I see fucking Iron Man in one of the movies, I go, "That's not how anything works ever."
Not to mention that if I could walk around the street carrying a ninja star that exploded, I
Right.
mean, people
Okay.
would be upset.
I got a question. All right, so in Iron Man, he invents these little nanites that are inside of his like blood, and that's where the suit comes from. That would be excruciating. You are literally having your suit ripped through your fucking body.
No,
real
it's
quick-
it comes through your pores. It's like you're sweating, but you know it just happens.
At
all
an
at once.
extreme rate, which
Excellent.
would be
We
incredibly
are
painful.
just about to start talking about Endgame. Give us just a moment.
Oh, did you just see Endgame today? You are in good fucking timing.
Yeah,
my
you're
friend.
in good
Yeah,
company.
we're gonna spoil the fuck out of this.
Oh, yeah.
but not for you. You win.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
so
I'm-
we have a lot of
done with my
Endgame to talk
X-Men
about.
can't
A lot of
have
it,
plane.
there's 3 hours of Endgame to talk about.
Yep.
So if we do a minute per episode of Endgame
This is why
per
I make
episode,
questions for the podcast so that we just
We're gonna
have
have for a lot of
general
years.
things.
I was gonna say we need a guide. And James is our
I am
guide.
your guide. I would be your Red Skull through this valley.
There is all right. So before we get
Poor
into
Red
this,
Skull.
they're gonna hear the talking point that I want to bring up in this show. But this is something I want to talk about was specifically the change to Thor and having him be a joke.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Thor has always been a joke.
Specifically, whenever Thor's my favorite character in all the movies. Like
Sure.
Thor's my favorite character.
And I appreciate that.
Is that what you appreciate
I
about me?
appreciate that Thor. Is
I
your
have
favorite
counterpoints
character.
to this. Let's not get into
But
it.
specifically,
We
it was
will get into it.
It was the Thor got turned into a fat joke,
So
and that's not what I was happy about.
right,
That dealing with that level of depression and that amount of sadness because
Right,
he
so
physically
I-
changed.
Was it a little too real?
So
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, and we're just gonna make fat jokes about him now. I'm like, oh, that's
we have a lot there to unpack, but we're
There's a
definitely
lot
getting
to
that.
unpack there.
Yeah. All right, let's jump in because we have a ton
Okay.
of Avengers stuff to talk about.
already. I'm waiting for that to stop.
Hi, everyone.
It's hissing. I can't tell if it stopped if you keep
I love that
making
we
the
have
noise.
people on our Facebook live stream now. This is awesome. This is
Yeah.
The
Hello, Facebook
people
people.
on Facebook are talking
yeah. Hi,
to us,
Facebook
guys.
people. This is our first time broadcasting
I
live.
feel
Yeah.
we don't do a lot of
official.
Facebook stuff. We're Facebook official.
We're Facebook official now.
Oh, my
Except for you
God.
said not to tag you anything so your mom doesn't find out.
Don't tag my human.
Oh, what? You don't want your mom to
persona.
find out about us?
Wow.
Oh.
No, because I know specifically
This
that
is
she
why
would
my mom's
watch
on my
it,
Facebook friends.
and I would say fucking like tit punch death cunt, and then my mom would hear it, and then that would be the end of my life.
I'm super tagging him in just that section. I'm clipping that and tagging him in it.
All right, let's do it.
The Boss Room.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Boss Room. It's our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. This week is a very special episode. This is something that's been requested from us literally since the day Avengers Endgame came out.
For about a month now.
But we wanted to respect...
Like the weekend of.
Right.
Yeah.
We wanted to respect everybody going out and seeing the movie, so we gave it a month. This is... I'm just going to put it out there right now. Spoiler warning, if you have not seen Avengers Endgame, turn back now.
Spoilers for the entire MCU and other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, if it's not Spider-Man Far From Home,
Right.
we're not. We're
Spoilers.
spoiling it. Like we're spoiling it. We
Yeah,
haven't seen
if
that
you
yet.
haven't seen The Defenders, spoilers. If
But-
you haven't seen fucking like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., spoilers.
Yeah.
Specifically,
Everything.
This week's episode is the final word on Avengers Endgame, so we're going to be talking all about the movie Avengers Endgame, a movie 11 years in the making, something like 22 something fucking movies or something
22
ridiculous.
movies.
Like it is ridiculous. So let's jump in, and I do want to go ahead and encourage our chat right now that's all lit up. If you have any questions or want to talk to us about Endgame, come on, give us
Go for it.
give us your comments right now.
Give us a
about some
comment, give
Endgame.
us a question.
So to start things
Or
out
concerns.
with,
Yeah?
Avengers Endgame. What was everyone's feelings when they first walked out of that theater after Endgame?
Elation.
All I could think was, how do you write the perfect sequel? And that sounds really fucking lame. Hang on. But like, how do you follow up a movie like Infinity War with, for all intents and purposes, what is exactly a sequel to that movie, and make it even remotely satisfying, much less entirely satisfying?
Sure, I mean we take Infinity War, which is a movie about Thanos, and let's break that down real quick. I mean, Infinity War was Thanos' movie.
He's
Yes.
in the movie
It
more
was
than
the-
anyone else.
No, Infinity
Hands
War
down.
is 100% about Thanos. He has more screen time than Tony
Because
Stark.
Infinity War was Thanos' origin story.
Right.
Yeah.
That's- It literally had his
It
origin
was
story in it.
it was
It was
made
entire backstory
to give us
and reasons
context.
for doing.
Yeah.
Right, because the MCU has a long sword history of not
Of
great
bad villains.
and
Yeah.
so giving us this for Thanos was perfect. We went into Endgame, and I mean, you walk out of that theater, and like, I mean, first off, my first feeling was, I'm standing in the middle of an Alamo Draft House on opening weekend. I can't talk about this. I need to get to my car, have a cigarette, so I can talk about Endgame.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because I didn't want to be rude and talk about it. In
Well,
front
they
of people.
specifically have a rule that if you
One of you
talk about it,
guys-
you get kicked out, and you're never allowed to come
Yeah,
back.
no, one of you guys told me, and I remembered from Infinity War and all the other Marvel movies before it, but I was literally walking out going, oh my god, guys, and someone went, shh, you can't right now, and I'm like,
We're
but
still
I
in the
have to.
We're still in the building.
But I
We're
have
still in the
to.
building. Even if you're in the walkway walking to your car, you're still not allowed
So
to talk about
I-
it.
Parking lot, not okay either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a really weird mixed reaction with it, right? I walked out of Endgame, and it was 3 hours long,
Yeah.
and I had a few drinks, and I loved every minute of it, and I was just, like you were saying, Tony, I was elated, I was overjoyed by the experience, and I almost wondered if I was too overwhelmed, like sensory overload.
Oh no! At this point, I
Yeah.
don't. I honestly, I was supposed to go back and watch it this last weekend, but I had to work. Hector did not, so fuck you. Yeah, I had the jobsies, and I want to go watch Endgame again. I need to watch it like 7 more times because
Yeah.
so much happened in that movie
so
that
much
I can
going
only
on.
remember parts of it.
Yeah.
It was so packed with so many elements
Yeah.
that I was like, okay, I don't like. I've seen memes recently of people like screen capping it and adding
Yeah.
text. I'm like, I don't remember this scene. I don't remember this character.
Yep.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I watched this the night it fucking
You're
came
so
out.
in the moment of
Yeah.
it, right? And I think that kind of goes to the quality of it. So let's bring in on our next question, really. It leads right into our next question, which is, do we really feel like Endgame lived up to 11 years of movies?
I think it did even better than that. I think it managed somehow not to just be as good as 11 years of movies and like really give us a send-off we deserved, but it also like it closed it off. There's nothing that I needed after Endgame rolled. There was no like, oh wait, but what about? None of it mattered. When those credits rolled, it was over, and I was good with.
You were like climax and done.
Like the one thing that I was
satisfied
going into
and
the film.
God damn, how incredibly difficult is that? We saw it. We saw how difficult that is with Game of Thrones.
To this day,
the
people
same
still
week.
debate Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I mean, it's good, but like, is it Empire good?
Right.
Like, there's that argument that's always being made of like,
Yeah, Empire has a better ending, right?
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. But
Yeah, because Infinity War has an amazing ending in my
Infinity
mind, because
War-
I hate humanity and really hope if half of them die.
Infinity War does have an incredible ending, but there is nothing at all like watching the end of Endgame. Like,
Except for the realization that Captain America sat by and watched all these atrocities happen and couldn't do anything about it.
he literally couldn't do anything about it. And that you know what? He wasn't supposed to do anything about it. If he did, it would have made more problems. All he wanted to do was dance with his best girl and, live out his life.
Blowies for like every week.
Yeah, because,
throughout.
Obviously he's not allowed to have any kids.
okay, so 11 years of movie, we feel like it did live
That'll
up to the
fuck
hype.
timeline.
I mean, I definitely walked out of there feeling satisfied.
Oh, yeah.
So let's jump into the movie itself. We're talking very vague and dancing around the movie.
Yeah.
But if you had to pick one scene as like your favorite scene in the movie,
Shit.
what would it
I
be?
can't even think about
Well,
that.
maybe like per act would be easier.
It definitely
Yeah.
is a 3-act structure.
Right. And
It's like a 45-minute just fight sequence
Can we
in
just
there
talk
as
about the
well.
fact that like they address the one thing that everybody was wondering in the first 5 minutes of the movie? The movie kicks off and it's like, how do we kill Thanos? Oh, Captain Marvel showed up. I guess we go kill Thanos.
Yeah.
And then they go and kill Thanos.
And then
it's like,
Captain Marvel shows up,
somebody in our chat,
and they murder the fucking dick off Thanos in like 5 minutes. And
That's
it's
what
like,
somebody asked.
oh.
Like, I didn't see Captain Marvel. Like, should I have watched? Yeah, I didn't know who that was, so I kind of missed out on that
Okay,
character.
Not necessary.
Also,
hot
not
take.
necessarily,
Hot
but
take.
Definitely watch that movie.
Hot take. All of Captain Marvel's scenes in Endgame were filmed before any of the filming for the Captain
Yes.
Marvel movie. So she was establishing who that character was in Endgame before Captain Marvel was even being shot.
So we will talk about a little bit about Captain Marvel a little bit later. Let's put that on the back burner because I do want to jump into that. So if you had to pick one scene out of Endgame is your favorite, which would it be?
Well, Brooklyn says Hawkeye. The Hawkeye, I guess, or the opening shot.
So the
where-
Ronin scene.
Yeah, the
So
Ronin,
the Ronin
scene.
scene, like in Japan, where he has like the big,
Where you
like,
find out
the
about his
sword
like
fight.
kids dying and everything. His
that-
entire family went
and
away.
See, that's the question: is it the first Hawkeye scene where his family disappeared? Because that was fucking moving.
Yeah, I just
or
wanted
is
to
it
die.
later when like Black Widow comes to get him and she's like, "Dude,
I assume
Yeah.
saying
Could you
that
stop?
he said starting with Hawkeye was phenomenal. So I
Starting with
believe, I think
Hawkeye
what
was
Brooklyn's talking about is the arc, right? The family disappearing.
Yeah.
It was the question that was all in the back of our minds, right?
Yeah.
Where was
Hawkeye-
Hawkeye during this?
Yeah.
Them giving us that at the forefront. That's the thing, is that this movie gave us all the answers that we had for all the questions beforehand. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, so where was Hawkeye during this? We'll give you that.
Yeah.
Why didn't somebody just show up and kill Thanos? Guess what? They're gonna do it.
yeah," and we all wanted to know where Ant-Man was the whole time, and we got a whole movie about that.
The question was not about how do we fight Thanos, because that was fixed in the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
The question became, and I think that's the biggest plot twist that nobody ever talks about. The biggest plot twist of Endgame was, how do we fix the world going forward?
Right, and
It was
that
not about Thanos until he showed back up at the end of fight.
that was
and
my
Thanos
favorite.
lost his arm, which was following the rule that everybody has to lose an arm.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely love that Thor's like, you get no more arm.
Right, and so that's the thing,
Can't
right?
snap if you have no more arm.
That's what made so much sense to me about the structure of the movie. And I swear to God, for everyone watching, this movie is 1,000 times better the second time. Because you're not so taken aback that you're actually getting to watch the movie, that you're really following what's going on in the story. And the idea that they fucking kill Thanos, like to his face, they watch Thor behead Thanos, and then they all have to go home and be depressed for 5 years. And then Scott Lang pops out of the fucking like
Quantum realm.
plank
Yeah.
scale quantum realm And
He
it's
was
like,
really tiny for a very, according to us, a long time. For him, very short.
for
amount of
him
time,
it was
apparently.
5 hours. For us it was 5 years. And he shows up and he's like, "Hey, so
Where's everybody?
so time machine, right?"
So suddenly
And-
I'm in the leftovers?
Right. So he's like, "So time machine, right?" And then everyone's like, "Fucking time machine," and he's like, "I know it sounds weird."
I know a guy.
And Black Widow's like, "Nah, I get emails from a raccoon. Time machine is fine. Let's do time machine." Time machine is good.
Yeah.
I like Hector's explanation of Endgame way more than the movie. Actually,
There's so much about this movie that subverted expectations. We all went into it with our theories and wondering. We knew that time travel was going to be a part of it. But while we may have hit the big points, like, oh, time travel's a part of it, so they have
Right.
obviously have to go back to the past to get the stones.
I love what they did with time travel, too.
Nobody thought
they broke the time travel rules.
Well, no, they broke the rules by making them the actual rules. They literally made time travel relative to the time traveler, which is something movies can't do because it's too confusing. And they did it. They literally had Tilda Swinton give you a diagram
Yeah.
of how it works.
they're like,
on
here's
screen.
how the multiverse works at this
It was
point.
her and Mark Ruffalo just
honestly,
diagramming
all right, so
all
not,
of that.
Not favorite scene, but getting to find out what was happening with, Doctor Strange
Oh, yeah.
and Tilda Swinton during the Battle of New York, where you're like, okay, where the fuck were these magic dudes? Honestly, stopping the magic thing from getting destroyed.
I
That's
love
where they were.
that the Sorcerer Supreme not only like gets a visit from Professor Hulk, but is also like, "Hey, I'm looking for Doctor Strange," and she's like, "Oh, you're 5 years too early. He's like 20 blocks that way operating on someone." Can I help you? Yeah, I need your necklace. It's like, oh, you can't have it. It wasn't really a question. Yeah, but I just pushed your fucking soul through your astral form. Do you want to talk?
It was so
Let's have a conversation.
good.
First,
Yeah.
it's the balls to like bust out Professor Hulk like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was so good.
Because it was played so deadpan. It was played like an Ant-Man
Yeah.
movie.
It's just-
like they
it's-
just the joke comes out and the joke is so obvious, but it's never played as the joke.
like, and
He's
it's-
just sitting there like, "Oh, I have fans. Oh, I'm eating a giant omelet. I'm just Professor Hulk. None of this is funny."
Think about what Marvel's had to work with. Marvel's had to work with the fact that they do not have the rights to Hulk. They just have the rights to use Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've done in their own way is craft this really fascinating Hulk story that gets told in little bits and pieces throughout the movies.
Yeah.
You only get bits and pieces of it. You don't get a Hulk movie,
Yeah.
but you get like where his
They
character
literally
arc is.
did World War Hulk, a
Yeah.
comic book in its entirety, as a Thor movie.
It's a Thor movie, and it was wonderful.
And it was fucking wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating. I loved it. So if I had to pick a favorite scene in the movie.
I still haven't picked one. You
I
go
know.
ahead.
like,
I don't have
we've
You
been-
go ahead.
We've been
'cause
talking
it's
a lot
really
about
difficult.
this. There's a lot to unpack here because I was a giant Hawkeye fan growing up, and as comic book fans, if you're a Hawkeye fan, you get picked on. Like when I was, a
Well,
kid.
yeah.
because
He
like
has a
I'm,
bow and arrow.
I'm basically the dumpster trash of fucking superheroes.
He has a
that I
bow
like.
and arrow.
right? And he wore like a
His
purple
superpower
jumpsuit.
is that he's not a
The,
superhero.
the
First
city
off-
is flying. The city is flying, and I have a bow and arrow.
None of this makes sense.
Quicksilver got this
seriously,
shit.
they
I did watch Age of Ultron again
a good
to
movie.
lead up to this kind of conversation, and it made me think of one thing. Sorry, as a side tangent,
Mm-hmm.
that the most important thing about Age of Ultron was it was actually more important than the Avengers.
Oh yeah.
Because Avengers, we've had team up movies before, and
Oh,
it
yeah, yeah.
succeeded. They did it fucking twice.
Yeah.
And that's what spawned all of this.
Also-
the fact they were able to do it again, even to people not liking it as much. It's still a great movie.
As much crap
I
as
agree,
people
it's a great
give Age of
movie.
Ultron, a lot of Endgame would not have happened if it was not for Age of Ultron.
It's
Whedon
set up
was really
so much.
Whedon was really writing into the rest of the universe when he did that,
Yeah.
and it was really frustrating, and it's why he left the MCU.
and you could
but
see that he's
no
like,
one
I had
can
to
say
cram this little bit in there, but like I'm
Right.
writing this bigger idea.
and no one can say he did a bad job.
yeah.
No,
It
it's
wasn't
a
Whedon's
great movie. Like I just watched it this last week, and I was like, "Fuck, this movie's fun." It just
Yeah.
has a bit too much. It has too much. It's too much of a corporate stamp on it. I
And
guess.
the thing is, it flows so perfectly into Captain America: Civil War that they might as well be the same movie.
Getting to see the first moment when Mjolnir moves just a little bit for Captain America.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That one scene.
So while
and
we're
then you
talking
get to-
about favorite scenes in Endgame,
yeah, I had to go. Actually, my favorite. That is my favorite scene.
was that your
when Captain America
Captain
picks-
America getting Mjolnir?
Captain America gets Mjolnir, and then the two of them proceed to destroy everything.
Yeah, that's a good scene. It's a good
So
choice.
I realized something when I was watching the movie back. All of my favorite moments in the movie, and not to diminish in any way the end of this movie, because it is magnificent, and the movie wouldn't be the same without it. That like 45-minute final fight scene is probably the best part of the movie, obviously for a lot of
Oh
reasons.
God, yes.
That
also
being
did
said,
not feel like 45 minutes. Holy
no,
crap.
it felt like 5 minutes.
Like the battle for Helm's
maybe
Deep,
15.
The battle for Helm's
And you also
Deep
felt
long.
exhausted
Yeah.
at the end of
This
it.
did not.
Like at the end of that scene, you're just like, I just ran a fucking marathon.
Yeah,
Holy
exactly.
shit, what the fuck just happened?
Okay, you were having a heart attack while we were watching the movie. That's different.
Yeah. So that being said, I think my favorite moment in the entire movie, having recently seen it again, was at the very beginning when Captain Marvel has brought Tony and Nebula's ship back. And Nebula's bringing him down the stairs. And
She's
then
like, did somebody order the sausage?
Right. And Steve comes up and he's like, oh my God. And he grabs Tony and he comes back and everyone's like, oh my God, Tony. And he's like, hey, did Pepper? And then Pepper shows up and they look at each other and I die. I straight up just like wallow into blobbering tears in my chair because he had no idea whether or not Pepper got snapped, and he was on that ship for like 21 days trying desperately to get back home.
He doesn't know who the fuck is alive
to
at
something
all.
he doesn't know exists.
There's an interesting fan theory going around right now that I kind of really enjoy, which is if you saw, I believe in the original Iron Man, or maybe it was the beginning of Iron Man 2, there's a scene in which Tony Stark looks at Pepper Potts and she's in a certain dress. And the color of the dress seems to really be the same color as the rescue armor.
Oh, okay.
And they're like
that kind of like gray and red.
They're like, there's no confirmation about this, but like it looks like they used the same color of this dress they did for the armor, and we believe as fans that's the moment that Tony realized he was in love with Pepper Potts was at this dance, and so he replicated her armor color based off that dress.
I could see that. Yeah, I can
I
totally
mean, that's
see that.
cool, and I really like it's very pretty, and it's a very nice moment.
Yeah.
I still fucking hate Tony Stark.
Sure, you're going to be on that bang,
And that's fine,
that's
but
fine.
like there was, and
It's
there's
okay
a
to be
lot
on the
of
wrong
that.
side.
It's cool.
There's a lot of it at the
People
beginning of the
loved
movie.
Adolf Hitler too. It's fine.
Yeah. If I had like a second favorite moment, it would be just a little bit later at the beginning of the same movie where Scott Lang comes out of the thing and he goes to visit the Avengers.
First off, he didn't come out of the thing.
No.
He came out of the quantum
If he
realm.
came out of
the
the
quantum,
they don't have the
came
rights
out
to the thing
rat-
just yet.
A rat touched a control panel in a van and he came out
It
of
was
the
in
thing.
storage.
Fan rumor, Loki.
I could see it.
It's just fan theory.
I could
Loki.
see it. But anyway, he comes out. No one will tell him what's going on until he asks a kid on a bike in a random neighborhood that is just destroyed. And then he goes and finds his daughter who pretty much was sure that he was snapped.
Yeah.
And he just shows up at the front door. And for
5
me-
years later.
And for me, because I watched so much of The Leftovers, namely all of it,
Yeah.
I can just imagine like having someone be gone for 5 years and then like having them show up at your front door and being like,
No.
no, sorry, my brain.
Your brain literally just melted, and you're just like, nope. Didn't
I'm not
happen.
prepared
So,
for any
so
of
you
this.
went
Yeah,
really
no.
serious and very deep with this. If I was asking myself the question, like, what's my favorite scene? There's a lot of them, obviously.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot during the last 45
I mean, a lot
minutes.
with Tony Stark is a really big deal for me. I love watching his. I mean, that scene, just Pepper Potts being like, "You can rest now."
Yeah.
Like her saying that, especially the fact that he had insomnia.
Yeah.
He had PTSD. All this stuff is going on. Like her being like, "No, you can rest now." Like
We're gonna be
I
fine.
just fucking lost it right there.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick something for fun, and this was my first for fun scene to go to that popped into my head, and Brooklyn actually just said this in chat. I already had it in my notes.
Oh, yeah.
It was the scene in which Captain America goes to the past and has to steal. It's the Tesseract, I think he has to steal.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And he goes into the elevator and he's like, "I'm here to take this item off your hands."
Oh, yeah,
And
so
they're
he's
like,
there for Loki's staff.
yeah, he's there for Loki's staff. And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry you can't have it because rules."
Right.
And he like leans in and he goes, "Hail Hydra."
Yeah.
That was a big deal because
It was huge.
Because if you're unfamiliar, we talked.
There's a lot to unpack.
There's a
with
lot to
this
unpack
joke.
here because, a year and a half ago on this very podcast, we were talking about a very controversial Captain America comic in which Captain America got brainwashed by the Red Skull,
Yeah.
and became an agent of Hydra.
Yeah.
And this is something that extended throughout his entire life. It was written into the Marvel canon that he had been an agent of Hydra secretly for a long time, and everybody lost their shit about
People
it.
were upset.
So many
People were writing
fans were so
fan
angry.
letters. They were sending death threats. They were just
Oh,
like
it was
Captain
so-
America, fucking a Hydra agent, blah 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 blah. And the fact that they had the guts to take this controversy and work it into a movie memorable moment that basically makes us forget about what happened in the comics.
Yeah, pretty
We-
much.
that's the new context.
And
for
because
this.
everyone hated what happened in the comics,
Right.
and then in the movie, it was awesome.
I honestly feel like the Russo brothers, when they were working on that, so like they knew that controversy, and they're like,
Yeah.
we're just going to give a big fuck you to the people who are bitching about this. They're like, fuck you, we're putting in there, and we're going to fucking make it stick, and you're
then
going to fucking
and
love
what
it.
they did, they literally grabbed everyone from the MCU, everyone from like 2000 and what, like 11, 12, and be like, hey,
Can you be here for 5 minutes?
remember the second Captain America movie like 8 years ago? Can you just please reprise those roles right now? And we're gonna
Can we
do
get
a
that
whole
building
thing.
again? Can we get that elevator? Can we get everybody in costume again?
yeah.
Chet had a
Oh,
really good
damn.
one. Thanks, Mark. On your left.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
a great callback. The fact that like you hear Falcon come in.
I feel like there's so much of the final fight scene that we could like kind of all do it.
We did
in
an
one
entire
go.
episode just-
yeah.
Just
about
the
that.
final, like, the final fight scene has to be like its own thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
my favorite moment is in the final fight scene.
Anyone listening, if you didn't
Girls Club was
lose-
badass, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
I want a movie all about Girls Club. That shit was
Dude, I would
awesome.
do an A. What is it? It's the A team, not
A-Force
Avengers.
is what they're
A Force, yeah. But just the as soon as the sling ring animation starts happening and you get that on your left, if any of you didn't like scream and lose your shit during that moment, I don't know who you are.
So for me,
you're not a
really,
real human.
Of all the strong female moments that happened during that scene that I loved, for me as an Iron Man fan,
Yeah.
just seeing Pepper Potts show up in the rescue armor,
Oh,
that was just like,
so fucking
let's
cool.
fucking do it.
Yeah,
Like,
watching her fight
let's
with
go.
Tony doing the whole
back-to-back. I was
back-to-back
like,
laser
oh.
thing. Oh, too
Yeah,
much.
that was
Holy
amazing.
shit.
All right, so we successfully had an entire conversation that makes me want to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
That's all
Okay.
this is. At this
So
point.
so let's continue down the questions here.
Yeah.
Who do you think had the best and worst story arc of the movie?
All right, so we talked about this a little bit right before we started recording this. Is that Thor has the worst story arc in?
So in
this
your
film.
opinion?
Yes, in my opinion, Thor has the worst story arc. Mostly, and it's not because his story is bad. It's because his story was used as a joke,
Right.
and
So-
that made me upset.
Right. And so your idea is that he got depressed, got fat, and that is being used
Well,
for the sake of humor.
his entire. I mean, let's lead up to this.
Right.
It's not just the snap happened.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this, his entire planet, his world, died.
Right.
He is
He
one
had
of
already
the
watched his
last
mother
like
die.
It
four.
exploded in front
Mother
of him.
died, father died.
Mother
planet
died, father died, brother died, planet died. He tried leading the few remaining people out, and Thanos killed all of them.
Yeah.
Not leaving half of them, he killed all of them. He's
There's-
one of like the
there's
last
new
three
Asgard-
Asgards
there's
left.
a few Asgardians.
There's a few, but like
So-
so few. And then he deals with the whole fucking thing during Infinity War. He's like, I'm gonna fucking keep fighting because that's what I have to do. And then
But
he gets,
then he won.
and then he. But that's the thing is, whenever you get to the very beginning of Endgame, he showed up.
won.
He's like, "You, purple dude, I'm fucking killing you." He kills him, and then 5 years of depression hit him.
Okay. So I am both with you and against you on this. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. So I want to talk about one of my favorite Iron Man movies. I understand this is not everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
Obviously, Iron Man 3.
I like her.
Yeah,
And so
it's a Christmas movie,
right.
just not a
And
Christmas movie.
Iron Man 3 really is about dealing with Tony Stark dealing with PTSD and the effects of what has happened to him and the way that he reacts to it.
Right.
And so we have the same, but not same with what happens with Thor, right? Like he watched his parents die, he watched his world die.
Mm-hmm.
He took on depression in a different way.
Yeah.
And I can see why it would be upsetting that it was played for laughs. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, because
But I do
Thor
not-
is supposed to be this
but I
god
do,
of a
but
being.
but I do not disagree with him falling into that depression.
Oh no,
being
he
that
has
way.
complete logical. Like Tony Stark has a complete logical reason for why he went the way he did.
Right.
Thor has a complete logical reason why he
Like-
went the way he did. But in the film, his physical changes because he's again supposed to be this ripped god of fucking
Yeah, but it's
thunder
played
and
for
lightning.
laughs and
it's
he
played
gained a
for
lot of weight.
it's played for laughs, and it's brought up multiple times. They keep calling like Big Lebowski jokes, and which he doesn't understand for some reason, even though you think he probably would have seen that. He's got a rock friend that's a giant
Hey,
stoner.
you know what? I bet you Captain America hasn't seen the Big Lebowski.
I
Probably
can-
not, but
I can see it.
But it's for me, it's a character that I most identify with, and who deals with things like that. Seeing it being played off as a joke was hurtful to me.
I can see that. But so best and worst story arc for you?
Best and worst story arc. Worst story arc for me was I had a really hard time with this. Even my second watch through the movie. Worst story arc is actually Thanos.
Okay.
Because
He got such a great one in the first movie.
Thanos was played so well in the first movie because he was thoughtful and considerate and knew full well that everything he was doing was...
He knew the weight of his actions.
It was objectionable to the people around him. He didn't blame them. He didn't want to conquer them. He just wanted them to fucking stand aside while he did what was necessary.
Right.
In the second movie, he seemed so angry and petulant and righteous that it really took away a lot of the first movie for me. And it's not that
I
he was...
completely agree. I completely
And
agree.
it's not that he was bad. He wasn't bad. He was awesome in the second movie.
Right.
He still felt dangerous. He still felt like a fucking villain worth fighting for every reason that he was worth fighting in the first movie.
But it didn't feel like he was approaching.
He seemed, and it's not even like 5 years less mature. He seemed so much less mature that
he seemed less mature than the Thanos that we saw at the end of Avengers.
Yeah. He felt like because even at the beginning of Endgame, we had a Thanos that was like, "Yes, I did my thing, and then I destroyed the stones because they're nothing but temptation.
Yeah.
I'm inevitable. I did what I was supposed to do." And then he has his arm cut off and his hand cut off, and he takes it in stride.
Yeah, he's
like,
yeah.
none of this matters anymore. And the Thanos that we got after that just seemed like such an asshole. Compared to that it really turned me off to the character.
It seemed like
as we kept fighting it.
the Thanos from 5 years in the past, or the past Thanos, was reactionary to what was going around him.
Yeah.
And it was fucking with his master plan. And it didn't seem like the same character at that point.
It was no longer the man playing chess anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that I did not enjoy about the film, was that Thanos overall just kind of felt like he didn't know what he was doing. Whereas prior to that, you're like, he was playing chess with the universe.
Right.
It was you can send heroes after me to the end of time. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
This was somebody did a thing? I need to immediately run over here. And it felt so reactionary that he wasn't planning things ahead of time.
Right. And
So-
I think the best character arc for me is probably, and I wish you would have gotten a lot more attention, but this movie in a way to me felt a lot like Nebula's movie.
Okay.
It should have been more about her.
Nebula had such an incredible arc going all the way back to Guardians 1, coming through the end of this movie, even fighting her past self to like be a part of greater change against this father that she was always trying to impress, right? And there's this scene at the end that bothers me. And even though it's good and I like it and I watch it and I feel like it's fine, there's a scene with the A-Force where, oh my god, how is Captain Marvel gonna get this glove to the van? It's fucking Captain Marvel. We literally just watched her fly through an aircraft carrier in space and murder a bunch of things. After she did that in the last movie we watched her doing it in. Her flying with the gauntlet to the van, I did not feel like that was a problem for her.
Right.
If it had been her fighting Thanos while the rest of the women carried the football to the end line, that's kind of how that scene keeps getting described. I feel like that would have been a little better, and I feel like it would have been best.
My favorite part's called the end
because
line.
of the scene at the beginning of the movie with Tony and Nebula playing finger football with the little folders.
Yeah.
That if Nebula had tried to run it to the van, while the rest of the women protected her, while Captain Marvel fights Thanos, that seems like a better version of that scene.
Yeah.
Just in my head.
Sure.
But
They probably
Yeah.
kicked that around, and they had just felt that they played differently.
probably. But best character arc for me is Nebula, because Nebula did the most in the movie. Really.
She honestly, over the course of the MCU, she's grown a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's a character that nobody really talks about enough. That she actually has gone through an emotional arc, especially when it's come to Thanos.
They kind of like played with it the whole time in Guardians 2 when they kept having her ask for the fruit that wasn't ripe yet.
Yeah.
And she like had to kind of learn for herself and be like, oh, fuck, it's not ripe yet. And it kind of felt like a metaphor for her whole character.
Yeah.
I'm actually, that reminds me, I'm stupidly looking forward to Guardians 3 now.
Oh, yeah.
Because of specifically Gamora.
Okay.
Yeah.
And her like, oh, fuck you. I don't know who any of you people are. I don't know what's going on. Am I supposed to be... Like, that seems like Guardians 3 is going to be, like, real fun for me.
So
That's a big question for me, and we can talk about it later.
when we
but-
talk
Okay.
about best and
Gamora.
worst story arcs of the movie, I don't want to answer just yet. So best story arcs, obviously, I feel like Tony Stark got his day.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, when we talk about worst story arcs, I want to kind of take that and funnel it into the next question, which is, do we think that Captain Marvel was underutilized after advertising her so much?
Yes, 100%. I remember there being this big blowback when they released the first poster, and it had like everyone on it,
Yeah.
except for Okoye, and everyone was like, "Where's Okoye? What with the
When
black?"
we know she survived, where
the
the fuck
black
is she?
woman can't be on the poster, and then you watch the movie and she's in it for less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get why she's not on the poster. But you had a giant Captain Marvel on that poster, and she's in the movie for like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the meme I saw today, which was that Black Widow's peanut butter sandwich is on screen more than Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
I mean, think about this. Leading up to Endgame, everybody's opinion was Captain Marvel's going to show up. She's going to wreck.
She's gonna wreck
some shit.
everything,
Yeah,
and that's how
that's-
you fix it.
And you know what she did right at the beginning of the movie? She's like, "Oh, we're gonna go get Thanos," and he just flies down to get Thanos, just holds him while people just chop parts off of him, and
Thor's
that's
just like, and I'm gonna fucking hatchet you.
and that's the end of the beginning of the movie.
And that's again, I keep going back to this subject, but it's one of the most fascinating parts about Endgame is that Endgame starts by giving us everything
Yeah.
that we want to happen, and then once it's done, you as the
the
viewer,
repercussions.
all the
Yeah.
viewers go, "Fuck, where do we go from there?" Shit.
and that's exactly-
And that's the problem. Is like
that's the
they
point.
can go and find him, and they can chop his fucking head off. But what they can't do is bring everyone back.
Yeah.
And that's
And then they have to wait for
And that's
Scott
the-
to show up and be
and
like,
that's-
maybe we time travel.
That's the thing that we never thought about when it came to this movie. We all assumed they're going to get the gauntlet, they're going to reverse the snap, everything's going to go back, the status quo will be restored.
Right.
It's every sitcom ever.
And it just wasn't that simple.
But this movie, even at the end of it, the status quo wasn't restored.
no.
Can you just imagine
You're
though?
still 5 years in the future at that point.
You're 5 years in the future. All of a sudden, you have people who haven't been on Earth in 5 years show up, and now we need the infrastructure to support these people. And a lot of
after the
them,
infrastructure got destroyed.
and a lot of them were in school. So now we're having a bunch of people just pick up school where they left off 5
That's
years
what
ago.
I'm confused about Spider-Man Far From Home. Like,
We're about to get that.
Far From Home should be like, you're allowed to walk 2 blocks because half our roads are destroyed, so like maybe don't go anywhere.
It doesn't look like a lot of
We don't have
infrastructure
planes right now.
was destroyed. What it really looks like, though, is that, I mean, if Spider-Man Far From Home has all of the same characters in it as a Spider-Man movie, they all better have been snapped. Or some of them are fucking 5 years older, and that's a big deal in high school.
That is true.
Yeah, no, these are the questions that I've been confused
Because
about
there's a
since
difference
the movie.
between
This
high
is-
school and college.
This is
Yeah.
not a Spider-Man Far From
Like
Home
graduating
discussion.
That's
college.
true, it's not. That's true, it's not.
So I do feel like Captain Marvel was underutilized, and yet at the same time, I mean, this was not about her. She's supposed to be
Right.
leading the charge of the next generation of Marvel movies.
I would have loved
So
her
she-
to be used differently.
Yeah. So I want to go into the tough questions here.
All right.
So the big tough question is, do we think that this movie is genuinely great, or do we just want it to be because it's the final part of this Marvel arc that we've been so invested in for 11 years?
Honest answer, I can't imagine this movie being better than it is.
Yeah,
And for whatever that is worth, I feel like if I really can't imagine a better version of a movie with this much weight on its shoulders. I can't think of like I've rewritten a few scenes here and there while we've been talking. I've been like, oh well, this could have been cool or this could have been cool. But honestly, for what they created, I can't imagine it being better. It landed so well and performed so well that it literally broke all the records. It's about to break the Avatar record. Which should be impossible.
Which honestly, after watching Avatar, I don't know why that even had a record.
So I have that argument right now, but Tony, what are your thoughts here? Like, do you think that it really is deserving of all the praise that's been put
This
on it?
is the culmination of so many years of planning and work and execution on hundreds and hundreds of people's parts. Not just a director or a writer or a producer. This is the work of hundreds of people who are just making sandwiches, hundreds of people that are just driving people around, building sets, creating fucking dust to be on a fucking set.
There's a guy who's been getting Robert Downey Jr. his coffee since 2008, y'all.
Yeah,
True.
Like this is the culmination of a generation of work at this point, and I think that it was treated as a whole. I'm taking both movies into consideration. I'm taking both of them as Infinity War and Endgame as a ginormous thing. That it was treated with the care that it deserved, the respect, the admiration to the original storylines and characters, the what had happened before with especially we have the Russo brothers. They're coming in and they had to work with stories that were preset by them by other people and finding a way to move them into where their vision was. And I'm not saying they're the ones that made this amazing.
Right.
Again, it was a culmination of hundreds and hundreds of people's work. And seeing this on film work as well as it does tells me the power, or shows me the power of human ingenuity and our level of care and craft that we have and can impart on other people. It's amazing to see a group this large over this amount of time come together and create something that will, honestly, to me, span the test of time. Yeah. I mean, yes, we're going to have more Marvel movies. We'll have more things than this, and it will continue. It'll become more amazing, hopefully. But what we currently have is, hands down, in the history of storytelling, the most amazing moment in storytelling history.
Right, and that's where we are. I mean, there was always a time when all of us thought, in whatever way, even if not specifically, that something like Infinity War was fucking unfilmable.
No, if you read that cover, you're like, I can't, no, why would you do that?
That would be so much CG and good actors and actors on top of it.
You know how much money you'd have to spend on that?
This shit's impossible.
I love listening to you guys talk about this. That was my favorite comic book growing up, and I love hearing you guys talk about it, like...
Well, I felt the same way about the Watchmen.
We didn't even get into the fact that the plot line's really fucking not that great in the original comic version.
Right. So, and when we thought the same thing about the Watchmen, the shit's fucking unfilmable. No one would ever take the time to really film the Watchmen. Sin City, huge.
There are certain comic books that you just go, no.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Saga is a big one that comes to mind now.
And honestly, to me, Saga, I'm like, it can be made.
Oh yeah,
it can super be made now.
If the Expanse can be made, I have a lot of hope for pretty much everything.
That is true. Yeah.
I want a 7-film Saga series. I think that'd be fucking amazing.
But now that we have this and we have our Endgame, I mean, there's nothing. All of my hopes and dreams for the future of comics in movies and TV are now made manifest because Endgame. I still held, maybe until about a year ago, that Transmetropolitan at this point in time is pretty much unfilmable. But
I think in this current political climate, it's unfilmable.
Right. But after seeing Endgame and seeing...
I feel like all bets are off.
Yeah, all bets are off.
So what I'm hearing from you is that because of Avengers Endgame, the very concept, the core of the words movie magic have been restored to your heart.
Pretty much.
You've seen it and been like, anything's possible.
Honestly, between those two films, I've never felt more childlike.
That way that people felt with Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
The first
That's what I said. Like, between those two films, between Infinity War and Endgame, I have never felt more childlike in my film appreciation of going to watch a movie and being like, holy fuck, this thing just happened in front of me.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's I can't describe an undescribable feeling for me of seeing something.
I'm sure there's a German word for it.
Yeah,
there probably is.
But there are all of these like power levels that you get while you watch movies. And watching the old Richard Donner Superman movies, you're like, okay, cool, Superman. And then watching maybe like Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's movie, you're like, whoa, okay. Like power level wise, fucking Superman. That's
power creep is something you got to worry about in storytelling.
That's the impact of Superman. Like, yeah, he'll level a city if he fucking fights another like Kryptonian, right?
Like on the same level as he is.
And we saw Superman fight other Kryptonians in the Richard Donner movies, and it was all very chill, and it was like, okay, they did the best they could. Then you see it in a Zack Snyder movie, and you're like, okay, this is the level of power. But when you got the first time we got Thanos on screen, we were like, fuck. Thanos, power level, all there. No one's
literally over 9,000.
No one's holding anything back. This is just Thanos on screen. We didn't have to wait any amount of time. This is it. And that is what makes me so hopeful for future comic book stuff. on the part of Image and everyone else, and Constantine even, and Sandman.
I'm looking forward to what Valiant's been toying with us for a while now about, because Valiant was a comic company that went under and then came back out, and they've been talking about doing movies for the past like 4 years now, and I'm like,
Right.
you've got some really cool stories.
But basically,
Please put some money into it and make them happen.
I no longer doubt that things can be faithfully represented on screen, and that is because of Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay. So there's one last question for the panel as we go to wrap this whole thing up.
LucasArts.
So with Spider-Man Far From Home just around the corner, are we excited for it or just kind of tired because Endgame was such a huge buildup? Now what I'm saying here is that it's not that we don't want to see Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right.
It's just that we walked out of that movie with 11 years of burden just taken off of us.
Right.
I would put it a different way. I had an 11-course meal, and I would like a fun chocolate wafer for dessert.
A digestif.
And that's exactly what I want.
A little limoncello.
Yeah, I want something small and light and fun.
Because we already know that we're not going opening weekend.
Yeah, it's like a 4th of July thing. I usually spend 4th of July with my family. We'll see it eventually.
Like RTX
it's
weekend
weird.
for me.
It's weird that they decided to release it on the 4th of July. I'm just putting that out there.
Honestly, I can put it in the most disgusting possible way I can think of right now. And I think everybody who's listening to this...
Oh, God, this is going to be bad.
It's going to be bad.
Brace yourself.
It's going to be bad. It's literally coming after a blowjob, and then you look down, and she smiles and winks and swallows. That's what I want. That's what I want out of Far From Home. I told you I could make it the most disgusting and worst way possible, but it's incredibly identifiable.
Good job. Good job.
Ignoring that.
You can't ignore that. I put that in your brain now.
Doing my best to ignore that.
And I can't edit that out.
The thing I want from Spider-Man Homecoming is exactly what a lot of the people say it is. It's just a quick check-in with the universe going, Peter Parker was gone for 5 years, and he's still in high school, and the world has changed in this way since then, and he has a little Spider-Man adventure, because he's still fucking
It's
Spider-Man.
supposed to be the epilogue to the whole thing.
And one of the coolest scenes in Endgame was him going, instant kill mode, and then murdering everything with his spider suit.
Activate instant kill.
Activate instant kill mode, and he's just like, I got it, oh shit, I got it, and then he's just like murdering everything around him, and I want to see more of that.
Peter Parker just killed a lot of people.
He's killed so many people.
There's one that definitely is
Spider-Man just like killed a whole
There's
lot of
very
people.
one specific kill that stays on his mind a lot, though.
Yeah, for real.
I was waiting for that to happen in the new movies.
I don't know, this whole run of
snap.
like, even sitting here having this 40-minute discussion about Endgame, like I'm just mentally exhausted because it was so much. It was.
I'm tired talking about the movie that I'm tired from
I feel
watching.
like if we had a really comprehensive list of like beat points in the movie, we'd be here for like 6 hours.
But the thing is,
we could do that. If you want that as an extra show, let us know at info@thesolidaire.com.
I'm not even mad about it because you know what? You give me 2 hours and I'll be ready to go again.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, when it comes to Endgame, like I'm that excited about it.
I'm kind of like a 23-year-old. Yeah, give me a sandwich and like a half a Sprite, and I'll be fucking there.
Yeah,
by the way,
I'm in.
By the way, can we just, as we wrap this whole thing up, I know we've been talking about a lot of the serious things, all the great one-liners. Can we just address the taco scene real quick?
Yeah, just the him getting his taco stuffings blown away by the Quinjet, and then the Hulk just coming by with, here you go, buddy.
Here's a taco.
Here's a couple tacos.
If nothing,
I have like 37.
If nothing warms your heart in that movie, the taco scene should have done it.
Okay, and I love that.
And apparently it's entirely playback because he gives him food earlier in one of the other movies, so it's entirely that's their relationship is handing each other food to
and
make
like
them feel
Nebula
better.
comes down and she's like, "All right, everyone, watch out! There's an idiot on the causeway."
All right, that's everything we have for the show this week. Thank you so much for tuning into this. It's been a crazy week for us because we just installed some new software. We're now doing Facebook Live. Hi, Facebook people. This is fantastic.
Hi, Facebook.
So for all of you,
It took me a while, and I'm very lazy about making things happen on the show.
It, though.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns about any of the things that we've talked about this week, Tony, where can they find us?
We'll start with Facebook. It's facebook.com/thesolidaire, where we also live stream this live at 7:30 Central-ish to Twitch and to Mixer and to YouTube and So that's where we live stream stuff. So if you want to watch us live, do that. If you listen to us on your podcast provider of choice, rating, review, whatever, thumbs up, stars, I don't fucking know. Whatever the stupid arbitrary system
whatever
they
the
invented.
yay this buttons are, press those.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna make my own, which is called yay this or nah. That's my rating system.
That's pretty good. I like it.
Nah. Okay, info@thesolidaire.com is our email address. Solar Nerd's website, donate button on there. donate button on Twitch, patreon.com/sillynerd, which we need to do something with because currently we have 0 people as patrons.
Had a very busy week.
We've had a very busy couple months,
Yeah,
honestly. I've been very busy. I moved things in my room.
There you
I forgot
go.
to add that to the other part. I moved my desk. I also had my computer die, so now
There
I'm
you
mad.
go.
All right, I
Yeah.
think that's it.
That should be everything. We're on Spotify.
Yeah, if we're on the spot. If you're on the Spotify's,
Yeah, listen to us
follow
there.
us.
I think it's a heart on Spotify now.
There's a heart, but I think you hit a plus sign and then you follow it, and then there's a
I
heart
don't
if
know
you
how
like
any
it.
of this works anymore.
Spotify's
My
kinda
old
hard.
man is showing where I'm like, I don't know technology. I don't know. I
He
just
says as he finally got his Facebook Live.
There
this
you
week.
go. Yeah.
You're doing okay.
It took me how long? It took me how long?
All right, that's everything we have for the show this week. Thank you
To
to
be
all
fair.
of our adventurers
Yeah,
out there who
no doubt.
tune in every week. We really appreciate you. To all of our new adventurers, welcome on board. Until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony,
And I love you 3000.
Until next week, adventurers, good night.
and good game.
Shut up. You know you're crying.
Thank you, everybody. It's
Dude,
been a great show.
that's the one question that we didn't have in there. I was like, and how many times did we cry during this movie?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, dude.
about
Like,
3,000.
dude, my
I was like-
my
I was
second
like, I cried like 6 times during this
my
movie.
second time through the movie, I cried more than my first
And
time.
it wasn't even like the sad parts. Like when Pepper
I was
Potts
crying
showed up,
afterwards. I'm like,
in
oh,
the red-
yeah.
in the
Pepper
red-
Potts shows up, and then like the thing calms down, and I'm like, ooh.
Ooh, I'm gonna start crying right now.
Fucked.
God
Yeah,
damn
no,
it.
so
Yeah.
like no, that movie was just overwhelming. Like I
was.
want to watch it in a giant movie theater,
Yeah.
but maybe
You'd like to
nobody
watch
else.
it-
But nobody else fucking there.
You'd
No,
like to
but
watch it
watching
well.
Scott Lang's daughter like look at him through the thing, and having watched so much of the leftovers, I
everybody.
was
Good
like,
night.
"This is all I ever wanted." This isn't even the leftovers.
All right, I gotta sign us out. So we gotta say bye. I gotta feed the dogs and all that
Thank
jazz.
you so much,
So-
the internet,
Good night, internet.
fucking Twitch, and